Welcome to Sic'em365 Radio.
Here is Howard, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods rips it off for Baylor. Inside the 10 and a first and goal for the Bears on our first turnover.
Sic'em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
We have returning matters. When you look at Mark Vital, Mayfield Teague, Jared Butler, and Dave John Mitchell, I think their record is like 30-4 or 31-4 at this point as starters. I think we have kind of a leg up in this awkward COVID environment just because of the age and the maturity of our returners. Even Flo, who hasn't started in the past, this is his third year here. So we trust our older guys.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Oh, little step back. Beautiful on the score for Snead.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon on this Tuesday afternoon. A Tuesday afternoon with breaking news earlier today, as I reported in Sic'em365, the premium section, and also on Twitter, that Larry Fedora, no longer the offensive coordinator at Baylor. There might be, and it appears as if there are other offensive coach changes, and the strength and conditioning staff, led by Corey Campbell, is out as well. We are expecting Mack Rhodes today at 4:20. I'm not sure about, because of the breaking news, whether he'll be available or not. But the first hour we had, and we rarely do this, the first hour we had was basically wide open. And now we want to hear from you, and we're going to discuss this. I can tell you this. There was no question clash between Larry Fedora and George Munoz within the offensive system, and it just didn't work out. We can look at a lot of different reasons. We can look at the players, and we have the offensive line, or we've looked at Charlie Brewer. This was deeper than that. This was deeper than just the players, because I'm being told, in fact, that everybody knew that Fedora and Munoz just didn't get along very well. And I don't know who was the one that didn't get along, but there, at least Fedora is out. Munoz, of course, that remains to be seen, but I believe he also may be a part of today's cuts more when we confirm that. And Grayson is saying he's heard that as well. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. Craig and Grayson were doing a podcast, and I sent Craig a text. I said, how deep? I didn't even know you were doing it yet. I said, stop it. And it's hard to do that when you're recording something. And I tried to explain. I just couldn't confirm anything yet. And then about 5 minutes later, I was. So you guys talk amongst yourself as well, as Larry Fedora is out and more changes to come.
Yeah, well, trust the podcast will be as updated as possible. It's done. It's in the bank, and will go up, I'm sure, later today or tomorrow. But we won't have maybe the other slight changes that may come here in the next few hours or over the next 24 hours. But we were able to talk a little bit about Fedora, and we were stunned by the news. And based on a lot of the reaction I've seen, I think everybody was kind of stunned by the news. The timing of it, I don't know how many people really expected it to happen, but I don't know. I almost feel like a sense of relief, because there was just something just so disjointed and just didn't feel quite right, quite frankly, about the offense this season. Obviously, I'm not, thrilled about people losing their jobs right before Christmas. Like, I think that stinks, but that is also the business. And clearly, Dave Aranda is not, as I said in the podcast, an earmuffs for those who have sensitive ears. He's not effing around to make moves like this in the offseason. So I like the move. I think something had to happen offensively, more than just Charlie Brewer not being the quarterback anymore, or more than just the offensive line getting better. I don't know that means you had to get rid of guys, but obviously he felt the need to. And it will be fascinating to see what an offensive coordinator search now looks like, and what that could entail. But I think it was probably needed, and clearly Aranda felt that it was needed. And so I think it's a good move for the program.
And I've seen a lot of this speculation that George Munoz being a Dave Aranda hire. So was Larry Fedora. Fedora, by the way, is also then tied into Joe Wickline, who's the offensive line coach. And then Juice Johnson, remember, he came to the system from Houston. And so then there's all sorts of different, how do you mix and match this, and who's going to remain. Sean Bell, of course, was already on staff. He's also a great recruiter. I've talked to a couple of the parents of those who signed with Baylor last week, and one of them was completely caught off guard by this. They did not know that. They said, hey, I need to make a call or two. I don't know about how this affects things. I always don't like it when these things, Paul, are happen. We'll get to the calls in a minute. When these things happen after signing day, it happens. I don't know if Dave Aranda knew he was making these changes before National Signing Day. I think sometimes the writing's on the wall. We knew there might be, but I don't know if he did. Bottom line is today, Larry Fedora's out.
Yeah, and I have several thoughts on that. If you're a recruit and don't realize that the position coach or assistant coach that recruited you could leave either their own volition or someone else's, then you and your family haven't been paying attention to how college football works. So that needs to be something you need to commit to the head coach, not the position coach or the because again, they can either get fired or they can get a different job. And so that's how coaching works. That's how it is. And to be at some place because of the offensive coordinator or whatever, to me, that's a little bit naive. Now, on to Fedora, I think where he really messed up was he clearly got too into the weeds of trying to install his own system when this season got derailed by COVID. Sometimes, and I hear the high school coaches that do this all the time where they're like, we'd like to run the spread, but we don't have a quarterback that can run the spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the veer because we have guys that can run the veer. We're going to run these plays. Now that's an oversimplification of it, but for what it's worth on the Baylor side and Baylor's offense, go back to what worked a year ago, do that, get into a normal year, and then implement your system. Because it's not like he can't do that. I mean, he's got the knowledge, the brain power to do it, but sometimes it's just about making the decision to get in the weeds.
254-339-1122. We'll get to your calls and text in 1 second.
I can tell you I've seen Jalen Ellis and Seth Jones, two of their young receivers who have both put up in the last 5 minutes, what's going on? Or the last 30 minutes, what's going on? So this was a shock to the players as well. I know from what little Grayson was able to get as far as sending some messages out to recruits, there was a lot of what? And there was even a couple of I just heard, I don't have anything to say yet. So that remains to be seen. Obviously Aranda had to know in making a move like this and what other moves may come that there was going to be, some explaining to do. And that's going to be part of, another aspect of the recruiting roster construction is having to now talk to these parents and talk to these signees about why you made the move and talk to your current players about the move as well. Because like I said, Jalen Ellis and Seth Jones are just two guys I've seen just looking down just now who are like, what in the heck? So, yeah, it's very interesting. I think the thing with the offense that just baffled me the most this year was when they would get into the ruts of you just knew 3 and outs were coming. And it was just over and over and over. And then, all of a sudden they'd get a spark. But, I mean, there were so many wasted drives. And I know part of that, it had nothing to do with the play calling. It was the fact that your quarterback couldn't take 2 steps before getting smashed in the mouth or whatever the cases may have been. But it was disjointed. It was not a good offense in any way, shape, or form. It lost them games. There's no question about that. This defense got them at least 4 or 5 wins the way that they played, and this offense did not help out. Now, the offense did help out in the couple wins that they had, but I think it makes a lot of sense. The timing is obviously out of nowhere, but when else were you going to do it? Were you going to wait another month and then do it? If you had a feeling that this is what you needed to do, I'm glad you went ahead and made the move.
All right, so on Sic'em365 in the premium section, there's an entire thread that's got nearly 10,000 different views, and it's all about not only the news that Fedora is out, but also the possibility of others. The strength and conditioning coaches are also out. That's Corey Campbell and company. That's interesting because they weren't going to lose but like a dozen players off this team. They were going to have like 120 of 100. I mean, whatever. I don't know. That's a little bit interesting. But again, there's somebody that might be available. There might be somebody Aranda knows or whoever. I'm not so sure about that. But that was something that kind of came out of nowhere. But they were at times beaten up and beaten around and pushed around this year. And so maybe that comes into play. That's way deeper than anything I can tell you about when it comes to a football team.
Yeah, we don't know about the fits, like you said. We don't know how guys gelled together. And I would say on the strength and conditioning side that they were clearly affected by the lack of offseason and COVID and the ins and outs and, dropping weight when you had the virus and all of that. So I'm sure that was taken into account. You don't fire staff because of things that are out of their control. But, this was a really physical team last year that was somewhat physical this year, but they got out physical a lot by other teams. And that was kind of strange to see based on what we'd seen the previous couple of seasons.
We're going to get your calls now. I'm so happy to hear this. I don't know if I'm happy to hear it. I don't know if you're a fan, you're looking forward to changes. I was worried Baylor would lose more commits after seeing that horrendous offensive style. And we're going to try to help you pick away all the other things that could be happening, how Fedora out affects Munoz, who I'm seeing some of you say, hey, he's next man up. I don't think so. I could be wrong there. Wickline tied into Fedora. What does it mean about former Baylor quarterback and China Spring star and Sean Bell, who's been on the staff as a great recruiter, and also Juice Johnson? Staying tuned for that. We're working on that as we go at it. Paul?
All right, Big Frank. You're on the Impact Health Labs caller line for your mass COVID screening. Go to impacthealthlabs.com here on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, one thing, it's one thing to make a change, but how you make a change is important. And I think maybe this is being muffed a little bit, and maybe this is just indicative of the organization doesn't quite have all of their ducks in a row. We've been in rebuilding seasons before, and things didn't catch you by surprise. And there was a process, and it was more than just to trust the process. People understood what the process was, and I'm not feeling that from this last season. So, I mean, while I do agree with, if something's broke or fix it, don't keep doing the same things and expect different results. So I think the coaching change is probably a good thing. The way it's going to be implemented is going to be really important, and it's going to be really telling on how organized Dave Aranda is in bringing this team together.
Thanks for the call, Big Frank. We appreciate you starting us off today, and also the call. Ashley Hodge and Grayson Grunhafer also telling us some stories. We'll get into that as well as we try to. I got to confirm everything, even though sources are telling us that this is not just Larry Fedora on the staff. This is also more than just strength and conditioning. There could be some peripheral jobs also affected by this as well. 254-339-1122.
And to Frank's point, I mean, it's one thing if Fedora leaves and you have some offensive guys who are like, hey, what the heck? But if it's also Munoz, obviously there's a new OC coming in or whatever. But if it's also a position or an assistant or whatever, I mean, that's going to have widespread effects. And so to Frank's point, I mean, Aranda's got to handle this very delicately to ensure that there's not any, infighting that occurs as a result of these moves.
They didn't have their leadership council until about 2 o'clock today. The news that I got came out a little bit after lunch. And so there's a timeline there on what Dave Aranda was able to do, speak to his team or at least his leadership council. I had a relative of a player say, gave me the bulgy eyes when I saw a tweet. She said, traded back a couple of things, and yeah, it was about football coaching changes. And then, of course, the recruits as well. Not recruits, those who have signed. 254-339-1122. Let's go rapid fire if we can.
All right, Stephen in Virginia, you're on the Impact Health Labs caller line on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys. I had a couple of overwhelming thoughts. I thought the first thing is that the offense was bad last year, and that in the way that Coach Bennett said that in 2013, if they got 2 or 3 stops, that they would be up 28-0. There were certain points in games at the beginning and in the third quarter or anywhere throughout the game that if they got stopped 3 and out, they would get stopped 3 and out 3 or 4 times in a row, and the defense just wouldn't have it anymore. And the other team would score every time, and it would be a 28-point swing. And all of a sudden, here was a hole. And the thought I have, because I found out about this when I turned on the show, is that all of us who called in to the show were really frustrated with the offense all year, and we just kept wondering how there could not be changes being made. And I think for all of us who, maybe, and I'm not going to complain about the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, to see that those changes are being wholesale made gives me faith that, yeah, okay, Dave Aranda saw it too. Because I felt like for, a majority of the season, they just didn't see what the fan base saw about Charlie Brewer. And now I kind of feel like, okay, Coach Aranda saw what was wrong, but he was too classy to fire somebody or bench somebody in season. So that's how I'm kind of looking at this. So thanks, guys.
Steve, thank you. Stephen, thank you in Virginia, as always. You're right. Some guys you get fired in the middle of the year, and sometimes you just let the storm, ride through the storm. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And that what Dave Aranda probably knew there was a problem, probably knew there might be friction between his 2 offensive coaches as far as Munoz and Fedora in the philosophical run, pass, whatever. And it wasn't like they were in search of doing something that a change would have helped 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So you let the thing run its course, and then you make the changes this week, and that's where he is.
Yeah, and Steven brings up a great point, because I too at times was like, okay, they'd have a game where their offense was just horrific. So I know you could pretty much point at any game, and then the next week you're like, okay, they have to have changed something, and they come out and it was the exact same. And then the following week, the exact same, and nothing ever really changed. And I didn't understand it, and it boggled my mind. So clearly, maybe it was a let it play out type of thing, I guess, for Aranda.
Which kind of goes back to my point about Coach Fedora was just kind of in the weeds about this is my system.
Yeah,
and it wasn't.
It was always that one quote. Mm-hmm. What was the one quote he gave?
He didn't watch anybody.
And whatever he meant by that, and that's the frustrating part because we never had a chance to really communicate with them after they started the year, and that's the philosophy that's with a lot of programs. We've been spoiled because we've always had access to coordinators and position coaches. For example, I remember there was a time if I didn't quite understand something, an X's and O's, that I could text a coach and go, hey, can you explain this or can you call me? If not like bothering them, but it was great because you could learn a little bit. I could learn, they could learn, and then we could pass it on to you. So maybe you could learn or you already knew it in the first place. 254-339-1122.
T-Rex, you're on the Impact Health Labs caller line. Thanks for your call.
Oh, thank you all for taking my call. First off, just want to say, hope y'all have a great holiday coming up. Anybody else listening, same to you. Hope you get to spend time with your family as much as, you're able to and feel comfortable doing. So, have fun with that. Take advantage of your time off if you get it, and just celebrate the holiday and hopefully the end of a terrible year. Anyways, to the subjects that matter, I'll try to be quick. I know y'all probably got a lot of calls because of what's going on today. I'm personally not surprised by, y'all talking about there was some kind of conflict between Fedora and Muniz. As a fan, I heard about that specifically, and I'm not going to say where I heard this from because it doesn't matter where I heard it from, but I heard that the reason that we won the Kansas State game was because Muniz got on the headset and went off and basically said, hey, if you want to win this game, Fedora, these are the plays you need to call. I'm not going to tell you how to coach run these plays. That could just be some random person telling me that. But, it's clear that there was some kind of issue between the two. I'm kind of surprised if Fedora was the reason, he's the coordinator, maybe the issues coming from his end. Why did we fire or let go, or whatever you want to say, let go of Muniz? Maybe it's a situation, maybe they both didn't handle it professionally during the season. So maybe Aranda's like, well, I'm just done with both of you. This is a business. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. We got to move forward. But it is at least a somewhat known fact, and now that y'all spoken about it, will be a well-known fact. There was some kind of conflict in the coaching office between at least those two people. As for the strength coaches, I'm curious, because those guys came in, right before COVID technically hit, I guess, or even at the beginning of all that. So they didn't really get a chance to have a strength program. So all they were doing is sending them, players emails, telling them, hey, work out this way. They're not there to supervise it for all those months until the kids got back on campus. Obviously, you have strength and conditioning during the season to some degree. It's not the same as off season. So I don't know necessarily why we would let go of the strength and conditioning staff. Maybe there's some overarching system there that we just, I just don't see. So I can understand coaching, how it affects the game and play calling, but strength and conditioning staff, given the year and really the lack of being able to have a strength and conditioning program this year, and the same for everybody else across the board, don't really understand that one because anything that our players were missing when it came springtime this year, that wasn't on the current staff. That was on the people who had them in the locker room before then. So not really sure about that one, but it is what it is. Last thing, I hope that, the rest of the coaches get to stay, but hey, it's a business move. I think Aranda, basically put a staff together real quickly. He got hired after the new year, didn't really have a chance. A lot of good guys were already plucked away if they were available. So maybe Aranda just, he took what he could get. He reviewed the year and now there's more on the market and, he's going to do what he's got to do to put us in the right position. So I don't think it's all about what they were doing on the field, but maybe it has something to do with the fact that he couldn't put the staff together originally, given the timing that he had. That's all I got. I know it's kind of all over the place, but hope you have a good day. Looking forward to your, your discussion. Have a good day.
T-Rex, thanks for the call. Merry Christmas if we don't hear from you tomorrow and anybody else as well. We'll be here tomorrow, by the way. We'll be on the air live 3 to 6 tomorrow. Let's go back to the calls, 254-339-1122.
Matt in D.C., thanks for holding. You're on the Impact Health Labs caller line.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Craig was spot on with the offense. I mean, nothing changed. I think we can all remember back in 2017 when we had a whole team basically made up of freshmen. By the end of the year, you at least saw a giant improvement in both offense and defense. So when we didn't see that this year, so something has to change. I hate when people lose their jobs. This is what it is. What this tells me that I see a bigger sense of urgency with Aranda than maybe other staffs where maybe it's a 4 or 5 year build. I'm thinking he wants to rebuild this and get back to competitive winning in maybe 2 to 3 years. But that's not going to matter until we get the roster build back up. I mean, we can hire Bill Walsh from 1985 to come in here and run that offense, but with the current, roster we got to get a lot better on the offensive line. I hope we get some more transfers in. And that's all I got to say about this thing. Just hire the best guy, and I think it could be possibly Gus Malzahn if he wants to come. And as far as strength and conditioning, it's probably a long shot, but I'd love to see Cat get back. You guys have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it. Kazkazadi at SMU, we know that. He was at Arkansas State after Baylor. And then there are names out there. You're going to hear names out there, and we'll be all over it as much as we can. That's not, I'll be honest with you, that's not something. That's Colt. Colt does a great job with this, Ashley, and among others as far as who's next man up. I'll be able to try to pass along, as Craig and Paul will as well, about some options. We got to find out, first of all, who's being replaced. We know Larry Fedora. We also know there are other changes on the offensive staff. We will continue to work on that with you as well as we get them. And I don't know, and I'm going to say this again, Mac Rhodes would normally join us. They're on break, but he would normally join us at 4:20. We have him scheduled. I have not yet been confirmed that he'll be on with us or not to discuss a little bit whatever he can as far as the staff changes and what it means for Baylor Athletics and Baylor football as well. I tell you what was interesting, and because we don't have the access, not that if we would have had access to Fedora and he would have said something about George Munoz or vice versa, I just, you kind of had an idea that there had to be something. 254-339-1122, that there had to be something going on. Maybe it's just a clash of philosophies. Maybe it's a clash of personnel decisions. We don't know. But I do think this does show that Dave Aranda's not afraid to make a decision here. Because if he would have stand pat and then they go through it again next year, then his job and his future is on the line.
Well, that's why I'm most happy, or I guess happy is maybe not the word, but I'm
relieved.
Relieved, yes. Relieved is the right word. That we don't have to see them go through the motions again next year of what we saw this year, because that would be death to this fan base to watch the offense struggle the way that it did with absolutely no changes spurring any kind of excitement. That was brutal to watch all year long on offense all year. And to think that they were going to, just run it back. I don't know that spring ball fixes everything. Now, I think they would have been better with spring ball, but I don't know that obviously fixes everything. And then, to learn that there's obviously infighting amongst the coaches themselves. I mean, how can you be a good team if that's something that's going on? Because that does trickle down to the rest of the staff and to the players themselves. And, I mean, it explains a lot by what we saw this year on that side of the football. But I think it says that Dave Aranda's not afraid to make a change, obviously. But I think, folks, I mean, you look at what's coming back, and it's not just about winning 3 or 4 years from now. They can win next year. Like, they could win games next year with this defense that they have and with what they may add on. You get the right offensive coordinator in here and tell me why they can't be one of the best teams in the Big 12 next season. If the offense is markedly better, I'm not saying they got to be Joe Burrow and LSU 2 years ago, but if they're even, keep their head above water.
If they're Baylor 2018.
They're a bowl team, at minimum.
From the 254, good sign from Aranda as a new head coach to see a problem, fix it, even in tough circumstances or pandemic year. That bodes well for his judgment, the future of the program. How many good offensive coordinators were just sitting at home when he was hiring his staff? That's from Matt. Matt, we appreciate the call. That's from a different Matt than Matt in D.C. Nobody else? Okay. 254-339-1122. Here's our schedule for today. And it was weird because today normally we'll have somebody at 320 or 340. We do have a segment that's recorded. Paul Catalina with a writer from The Athletic on the University of Cincinnati and where they are following the college football playoff standings. We have that scheduled for 345. It depends on the calls and the text and whatever else we can hear and availability with others to break this down. At 4 o'clock, it's Allen head football coach Terry Gamble. They're playing this week again, third round of the 6A playoffs. Also today, dependent on Mac Rhodes, at 4:40, the Negro Baseball Hall of Fame Museum, a representative from there who's the curator of the Hall of Fame Museum for the Negro Leagues, on the topic we brought up last week about the Negro Leagues and statistics being melted, meshed, and combined into the Major League Baseball historical vault, so to speak. And then at 5 o'clock, David Hellman, 5:30, John McClain. Take a break here, come back with more. 254-339-1122, SicEm365 Radio. Armstrong Sims, he put up the tweet, he put up the breaking news, he put up everything. He's amazing. This is SicEm365 Radio. Don Shumidor in the Town West Shopping Center off of Valley Mills in Waco is where you can find right now, if you're interested, you can actually get a few of the stocking stuffers that perhaps you're looking for. How about what of these are that might be? Cigar lovers, cigars for Christmas. Don't know what to buy. When you walk in the door, ask Carol and Ashley, and they'll help you out with a certain brand or perhaps something that maybe you have a list of, hey, I don't know, but this sounds familiar. They can help you with that. The custom gift set, what you need when it comes to a stocking stuffer or maybe even an entire box of cigars. Or maybe someone doesn't need cigars, but they need something to light it with, the torch lighters that are very nice. Stainless steel and more. Torch lighters, the cutters, the pouches to keep the cigars moist inside the humidor. New pipes for the holiday season. Lots of new styles and prices ranging for what fits your budget. And on top of that, coffee makes wonderful gifts for anyone, especially when it's chilly outside. Although today it is absolutely gorgeous. It is more chilly, or chillier, I guess you could say, in the morning and evenings than it has been, and sometimes in the middle of the day. Don Humidor, your Christmas stocking stuffer store inside the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84, and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrap fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrap fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
A lot of feedback on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. 254-339-1122 from the 254. Renews my faith in Aranda. Looking forward to next year now. We've had a lot of you now kind of say that to us. Also, thanks to the 214. Are these changes at all revenue driven? No, these are changes. These are the budget for your coaching staff. You know, it might go up a little bit depending on who's your head coach or a coordinator hire or two. But these are all part of the core. And that money's there.
Well, if you feel like you're going to win with these guys, then they'll make up that money by winning games. But if you don't think they're going to win games, then yeah, they're probably not going to make up that money. But I've seen a lot of different reactions. I've seen some people saying, you know, this isn't good news. They've got to learn a new scheme. I would argue they didn't learn it this year anyways. So I don't know that really changes much. I saw somebody on the boards make a really good point about the fact that you're going to have a brand new quarterback next year. That we do know. So you could have had a season under Fedora for this brand new quarterback and then inevitably, most likely, having to learn this a year from now and go through this all over again. So I'm much more of a fan of just if you feel like there's a problem and you feel like it's not a problem that's going to be solved, nip it in the bud as quickly as you can and move on, because it eliminates that waste of a season or that waste of however long you continue to just hope that things are going to change. If you don't think they're going to change, then go ahead and make a change.
Let me tell you this about the Fedora story, too. And I have not been able to talk to Larry, obviously. And we, you know, our job is to find out what's going on. We're trying to do that. I do know this as well, that there's a good chance that Larry Fedora, when he signed to come to Baylor or when he decided to come to Baylor, his job, to me, was to have a really good season offensively. That's, of course, what he's there for. And then the opportunity is there again for him to become a head coach, which is what he wants to be. It didn't work out that way with the offense struggling. But if, in fact, he was here on a one-year deal, and that could be a possibility, this could be positioned any way you want. You could say he walked away, and I saw somebody just ask us that. The bottom line is he was asked, basically, and they parted ways. And so you want to cover for Larry? That's fine. And if that's what he did, good for him. He can then say, I didn't get fired. I didn't resign. We just decided it was time for us to move on. Bottom line is he doesn't have a head coaching job right now. There aren't many of them out there anymore, even though there are some bigger names out there.
I'd like to throw cold water on at least one name that keeps popping up.
No.
Let's stop about Gus Malzahn. For me personally, I don't want to see it. I actually think that that's doing exactly what you just did with Fedora again. And so if I'm a young head coach and a first-year head coach like Dave Aranda is, I would maybe want somebody who, you know, is a less of a known commodity and is not going to jump at a head coaching opportunity right away. I don't want that. I want somebody who's going to be an OC at least for a little while. I want a younger guy. That's what I want with this team.
I saw Armstrong just tweet this, and I had this thought while you were talking, and you're not going to find a Brent Venables offensive coordinator out there, but if you can find a guy who is similar and that he's not begging for a head coaching job, or that's like, as soon as that pops up, I'm going to go and take it. Somebody who's going to, you know, lay a foundation and be around to build the foundation, and then if they have success, ultimately go off. But you know, Malzahn would be interesting for a one-year deal, but if he has success, then he's gone. He's going to go be a head coach again somewhere. And so you're just starting the process over, to your point. If he doesn't have success, well, then you're probably going to get another OC again next year, and now you've wasted 2 years. So Dave Aranda I found him fascinating. Like, you know, initially, in comparison to the way Rule presented himself, it was hard to adjust to. Just the quiet nature, a lot more reserved and things like that. But the more and more you heard him talk, I mean, the guy's brilliant. And so I don't think this is any knee-jerk reaction. I don't think this is like it suddenly dawned on him that the offense was an issue that probably wasn't going to get better with spring ball. I think this is a calculated move. It's a big move. And you know what? This is a decision that, depending on how that offense looks next year, Dave Aranda's either going to look like a genius, or we're going to say, hey, offense is still bad. What's the problem? You know, so this is a move that still comes with a lot of risk, but there could be a lot of reward. And with what we saw last season, there's just I'll say it again, there just wasn't a lot to hold on to. I mean, I don't even know what offense they really ran last year, quite frankly.
Here's the thing, though. You make this move, and I don't think many people disagree with making changes with whatever they were or were not doing offensively, no matter the issues they dealt with. You do this enough, eventually it's you.
Right.
And so after just 1 year, for him to make this change, and George Munoz, if he's a part of this, is an LSU guy. And so, I think it says quite a bit about Dave Aranda going, okay, listen, we got a mulligan year, even though a lot of people don't even want to give him that. I have to now make sure we're going to be really pretty good on defense next year. We now have to ensure we are pretty decent or better on offense. I'm telling you that it's palpable how much friction there might have been between the coaching staff on offense. And I'm not using all 5 of the names, but I'm telling you at the top, the philosophies, they butted heads, no question about it.
And Aranda's a first-year head coach, guys. I mean, he didn't, slide in and know. He didn't have Randy Clements that he knows is going to work, or the longtime guys. I mean, these are all first-time assistants for him. And so inevitably, it's understandable if it dawns on him, or he comes to the realization, easy, John Werner. It dawns on him, comes to the realization that, maybe this guy's not a fit for what I want to do. And this guy's not a fit personality-wise with what I want to do, or whatever the case may be. So if personalities outside of him were clashing, then maybe that also extended to just not being a fit for what he envisioned initially. And this was obviously a very tough year. We've outlined all of that multiple times at this point, but it was a year that, going through the trials and tribulations and going through the fire, that I think a lot of truth emerged from that. You see what people are like at their lowest and at their hardest points, and maybe that just cleared some things up for him.
254-339-1122, Riverbend Liquor and Wine hotline. It's the text line, excuse me. We're also getting a lot of feedback from you, also in the premium section. The chat room, we're about to check in as well. The Willis Law Firm chat room.
All right, back to the Impact Health Labs caller line. And Derek, you're on SicEm365 Radio. There we go. Go ahead, Derek.
This is man.
Oh, sorry, Statman. Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I think this is a good decision to replace Larry Fedora with a new offensive coordinator. Let's be honest, 2 wins even during a coronavirus pandemic was simply unacceptable for most Baylor football fans, and I include myself among that group. I remember when he was with Baylor football in the past, and he had success, but that's going back, I believe, to the Grant Taft era, so that's 20-plus years ago. Nevertheless, he just simply wasn't a good fit for what Charlie Brewer, in particular, could provide for the offense like he did his previous 3 years. Just my humble opinion. And also, I would personally be really sad if Sean Bell, the Baylor football and China Spring football quarterback legend, was released. I think he's a local fan favorite, both obviously with his high school and football success in his career, and I would hope that maybe he will still be retained. I'll hang up and listen to your comments. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Statman. By the way, had Sean Bell not been tested positive for COVID, he would have been the one calling plays in that game in which they were down to Juice Johnson, right? Everyone else was out, and they were down to Juice Johnson. Sean Bell would have been next man up. He's called plays at Magnolia, West, and also at Cedar Ridge. He's got that in his background. Juice did everything he could that day. They did all they could do. But Sean Bell would have been next in line. He does call plays. Whether he's ready for the offensive coordinator's job or not, I think it's also how valuable he is in recruiting. No matter how much, though, you value somebody, there's always somebody else that can come in. I'm hoping Sean stays. I do, just like I wanted Joey McGuire to stay last year. David Wetzel was a part of the liaison with high school coaches. But at the same time, let's see what happens. 254-339-1122.
Right. Taylor, you're on SicEm365 Radio on the Impact Health Labs caller line.
Hello?
Oh, Baylor Bigfoot. How you doing?
Hello? Hey, it's man Bigfoot. Double B's on the phone. First time caller, long time listener. Glad I can call into the #1 radio show on SicEm365 Radio in all Texas. Hey, before I start this rant, guys, I want to wish Madeline Martin a happy birthday. She works as the assistant to Dave Aranda and has been doing a tremendous job. You know, I'd like to thank Larry Fedora for the great season the Baylor offense had. I don't know what Steven and Virginia's talking about. The offense was great. It's pretty difficult to go 2-7, finish 9th in the conference in points per game, yards per game, sacks allowed, while also finishing dead last in rushing. You know, obviously there's the excuse of COVID, but everyone had to deal with COVID, not just Baylor. You know, the offensive line had all upperclassmen, and the wide receivers and running backs were also upperclassmen. Chuck gets the pass, so that means the only one to blame is Fedora. offensive line had a bad approach all season. With Clyde being let go, leads me to believe that James Danielson was not the problem. But I still believe the Baylor offensive line should be coached by an NFL legend like Travis Brenner or myself. Danielson needs to either switch positions or get out of Waco on the next plane. Corey Campbell leaving is confusing, but I honestly wonder, and I know he was brought in with Browns, if Cons would ever come back. Cons was my strength and conditioning coach, and he pushed me to be the best I could be. Matt in D.C. was dead on right. I hope he makes a return to our great alma mater. And I really do hope that Sean Bell, Troy McGuire, and David Wetzel are staying on at Baylor. These three have been here since 2017, and they have all been legends for the rebuilding this great football program. On a side note, I'd like to congratulate the SicEm365 Radio Show for moving up to number 3 on my homies list this week. Give yourselves a round of applause. Hey, y'all. The inside track to reach number 1 this week. Hey, last thing before I go. Armstrong, I found some anti-rash cream at the store and bought some for your poison ivy rash. I'm going to leave it in the woods next time you go out for a run there. Bigfoot Jr. had the same problem recently. So I'm glad I can help you.
Thank you. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. Bigfoot, thank you. Armstrong,
thank you.
Where's your rash?
It's in an undisclosed location. But thank you, Bigfoot, for the cream.
Underneath clothing.
Very, very kind and Christmas spirit of Bigfoot there.
We're up to number 3, guys.
All right, yeah. With a bullet, though.
Yeah, you remember the magazine, the radio magazine? What was the name of that magazine? It was a big, huge, it's big, large. Yeah. It was about radio. It was Billboard. It was Billboard magazine. And they had the top 10 music, 100. They had the bullets on the way up. We're on our way up. Let's go.
All right, Steven, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Oop, here we go. Sorry. There we go. Steven, go ahead.
Hey, guys. I was just wondering who would be the next offensive coordinator, because I would have to think it would be someone who is in the Brent Venables mold, except on offense. Someone who, for whatever reason, I don't really care what the reason, whether he was not good as a head coach or whether he just wants to be at Baylor, someone who wants to be like Phil Bennett was to Art Briles, someone who can work with building an offense that can work with our defense to be a cohesive unit and have an offensive unit that scores football games. And, I don't really know who that is, and I guess I was going to ask y'all.
Yeah, that's a great question, Stephen.
Yeah, here's what's funny. This is what's amazing, and this is how sharp you are. The board, the callers, and those on social media. The story about Larry Fedora and offensive staff changes plus strength and conditioning changes and maybe peripheral staff shrapnel as well. It's amazing. That sucks you in for about 10, 15, 20 minutes of lifetime. And then immediately it's who's next. I would lie to you if I told you who I thought was next. I have no idea. I know that's what I love about our group is that I know right now that Ashley and Brian and Colt and Grayson are pounding away trying to find out the next options. And then also still trying to. We're not going to be reckless and just throw out names that are gone until we can confirm that they're gone. And we did confirm, no question about it. I did when I reported it with Larry Fedora, Corey Campbell, and the strength and conditioning staff. There are other changes, and as soon as we can confirm them and make sure we do it right, then we will, no doubt about it. 254-339-1122. Anyone off the top of your head? I know somebody threw out Gus Malzahn. I don't think that's going to happen. I know there's a popular name out there or two from people who always will just continue to mention the name. That's not going to happen. Anyone else that you think of? Is there someone that you guys kind of know about or that you would like to throw out there as a possibility? What about the guy from Coastal Carolina? Would that be a step down? What about somebody who's on one of those programs that's done well as a head coach to become a coordinator at Baylor, or is that a lateral move for them?
I really like that Lincoln Riley guy at Oklahoma. I think he'd be fantastic. No, I don't have any names in mind. It's easy to do the Sean Bell thing. I don't know where Sean is as far as that goes. If he's ready, then okay, cool. But if he's not, then that's understandable as well. So I'm not going to advocate for him either way. Obviously not rehashing old times. I don't care about the old times at this point. Wish everybody from the old times the best, but the last thing they need to do is refresh that, especially when they just met with the NCAA 2 weeks ago. So off the board for me entirely, anybody involved. Outside of that, no, I don't really have a good grip because I wasn't expecting to have to go into looking into offensive coordinators around the country and who might be available or who might be interested. But I'm sure there's some guys at the non-Power 5 level that could perhaps be of interest because that would be a move up for them. Don't know who that would be, but that's part of what I'm going to be fascinated by is kind of what names do emerge.
Graham Harrell's not leaving Southern Cal unless it's a head coaching job. He's already been offered jobs in the NFL. Scotty, I appreciate the name. We kind of know that family pretty well.
His wife's my sister's best friend.
Yeah, Jennifer's best friend. So that's a great name. That would be a huge home run hire. Remember, Texas wanted him.
North Carolina.
Stayed at South Carolina. He stayed at the USC in North Carolina.
Well, he's also swinging for Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah. Alabama's offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian. Hey, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with thinking big, but they're not going to come to be the coordinator. And one of the things we have to look at, I'm just throwing this out there. He was the head coach at Utah State. I don't know what his specialty is. Gary Anderson, was he an offense or defensive guy? I don't think that. For some reason, I thought, I don't know if he was an offensive guy. Who knows? I mean, absolutely, we don't know that. That's because here's what happens. Today, by the way, Amos Davidson leaving Gerald to take the job as defensive coordinator at Collinsville. I know on a scale of 100, that's down at the bottom. But the reason I bring that up is the next guy at Gerald is probably going to be someone connected to who the superintendent is or somebody on the school board. It's a networking thing. So Dave Aranda's network, Wisconsin, Utah State, Hawaii, LSU, right? And even University of Louisiana Lafayette.
Most of Gary Anderson's run as an assistant has been on defense. So.
Okay, well that might just end that right there.
Yeah, I was wrong about that. Yeah. I didn't know much guessed wrong. So yeah, he would not be who you would be looking towards. But I'm seeing a couple more players who have come out saying, "Man, what's going on right now?" And immediately people's minds will go to I guess Fedora, but there are other changes that we're aware of. So I would think that a lot of these guys they see on a day-to-day basis are they're probably reacting to those guys that they have gotten to know over the last couple of years or over the past year.
I did say Louisiana Lafayette. I meant Delta State. Sorry about that. That's the connection he had with Ron Roberts as well. But yeah, some of the players are like, and that's what I mentioned. I mentioned this, and I brought this up on purpose. The Leadership Council was going to meet at 2. I was able to have the story a little bit before that, maybe an hour or two before that. I would think that Dave Aranda would rather have been able to talk to some of the Leadership Council about changes on staff and before it leaked out. Don't blame us because people sent us notes or we have great sources, and then we confirmed it. And I'm sure that Dave Aranda would like to have seen this thing maybe come out a little bit later on. I did ask Taylor Bryan, Baylor Athletics, Football Athletic Communications, if Dave Aranda was going to release a statement, and that's to be determined because we don't yet know if there's other changes to be made. That's it? All right. When we come back, here's what I'm going to try. We're going to keep this going. We're going to move the Cincinnati segment back. J.J. Joe, we're going to try to track him down. Even Sam Bradshaw on the mix and match of what they were trying to do, and now maybe both of those who were trying to do something could be out with, we know, Fedora. 254-339-1122. Hopefully we have a little bit more information from you as well. And go ahead.
I want to say one more thing. I'm seeing, various players acting certain ways. And going back to what Paul said earlier, I'm sure that some are bummed about Fedora, probably got to know him, probably liked him, whatever the case may be. You shouldn't have come to Baylor for Larry Fedora. You come for the head coach. I mean, it's that simple. I don't know how many times people have to learn this lesson. Parents of recruits, commit to the school, number 1. Commit to the head coach, number 2, and then whatever else you want to do. But if you're tying your stock to a specific coordinator, then you're just asking for a situation like this to happen, and that's just my opinion on that.
I do know this, that a parent that I talked to, one of the reasons his son made the decision between Baylor and a couple of other schools is because he thought that the offensive coordinator would be back compared to the other schools in which they thought the offensive coordinator was going to be gone, and they pretty much knew that.
We know Sonny Cumbie's not a candidate because he's going to Texas Tech, going back to his alma mater.
Also, Brent Venable says no to Auburn, right? Mm-hmm. He's staying at Clemson at least, as it looks like he's getting paid big bucks. 254-339-1122 from Abe on my direct messages and Twitter. Fedora is out, I understand. Are you hearing any candidates? If I told you a name, I would be lying to you. I said that before. We've kind of mentioned a couple of them, but we're working on this. And the great thing I said is our staff, we got a bunch of them, more than I've ever had anywhere. And I mean, it's like spider webs everywhere, the networking that we're working at right now at 254-339-1122. Back in a moment, SicEm365 Radio. So today I went by and saw the great family that is Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Went by their location, said hi, had a chance to see Braden. Braden gave me a really nice jacket. Saw Mr. Embry, saw a lot of the staff. It was just great to be there. And they have a new location. They're about to break ground on the South Loop 340 and 12th Street, right next to the Busby Feed and Seed location. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 1943 is about to go bigger, better, faster, stronger in a big-time way. They will still have the same great customer service. They'll still have the great product. They'll still have the same people. In fact, they're going to be bigger, better, faster, and stronger. In fact, they're going to double the current location, which allows them to expand even more inventory for you that needs it when it comes to steel, pipe, metal, making the one-stop steel supply shop even better. Locations in both Bryan and Waco. They're about to break ground at a brand new location for Pioneer Steel and Pipe on Loop 340, South Loop 340 and 12th Street. You're going to start seeing that thing kind of start. It's going to happen. And that is about the growth over nearly 8 decades of great business, customer service, and product at pioneerboys.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
254-339-1122 at 4 o'clock. Terry Gamble, the head coach at Allen, as they're in the third round of the 5A and 6A playoffs. So I recorded a segment earlier today with Denton Ryan head coach Dave Hennigan. He was at Corsicana. He's been at Grapevine, a couple of other places. They're in the third round, unbeaten, lost in the state championship game to Shadow Creek and Kyron Drones. And unless I'm wrong, and that could happen off the top of my head, Denton Ryan has had this great run, but it's been a while. Maybe I'm missing a year since they actually won it all. And they've been fantastic. They've got some dudes now. Sanders at Texas, Bowman to Oklahoma. They got a guy named Bear Alexander who's a stud. So I had a conversation today with Dave Hennigan. We'll have that for tomorrow on our show on SicEm365 Radio. Men's basketball has added Alcorn State for a game on December 30th as they try to put together that schedule as much as they can. I thought this was a great tweet last night from David K. Baylor men's basketball destroyed Arkansas Pine Bluff, as you expected them to do, but they just boat raced them. They got out of the blocks. They didn't let them hang around. It was 55-12 or whatever. Baylor men's basketball, this is Big 12 field goal percentage from the three-point range. Baylor men's basketball could miss their next 29 three-pointers and still lead the conference in three-point percentage.
It's ridiculous.
70 of 149. They're shooting 47% from outside whatever it is now.
You know, this team is too good. They would have to try to miss 29 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's how, they'd have to try to miss 29. They'd baseball pass them at the backboard as hard as they could. That's how good they are at shooting threes.
At 254, thanks to the last comment, I don't care about hiring a big name. Go hire an offensive coordinator that has, on whatever college football level, shown himself to be a winner with a great scheme. That's from 254 in the Central Texas area. T-Rex, I ain't Bigfoot. That is all. Bigfoot, I ain't T-Rex. That is all.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a name. What does a name matter? What does a name,
who heard of Joe Brady before he became Joe Brady?
And so I understand some people just get caught up in the names. That's not me. I just want to see something that works. That's simply whoever that is. It could be Joe Schmo or be Chris Smith. I don't care. Just somebody that can move the ball up and down the field, somebody that can take advantage of what this defense puts on a platter for you 10 times a game that you took advantage of maybe one time a game. That's what I want to see. And there's got to be somebody out there that can do that. I understand, some players are going to be upset. It's more change. Nobody's been through more change than Baylor football over the last 4 years. But, in this case, if there was butting of heads, if it wasn't good behind the scenes in just certain areas, then you got to correct that. And that's not something healthy to take into another year, especially when you are changing quarterbacks and you do have a defense that you can rely on and that you can win this year. Just doing more of the same, if it was going to be a situation where there was anxiety or inner strife, that it's not worth it. But, yeah, whoever that is, we will find out.
Again, Hawaii, Utah State, Wisconsin, LSU are places recently that Dave Aranda has coached. And there's probably going to be somebody in the mix that has been on one of those staffs or connected in a way. He, of course, was also at Texas Tech and Houston, Delta State, and Southern Utah. When we come back, Terry Gamble, Allen Eagles, we know all about them, the biggest school in Texas, but that doesn't always mean you're going to win it all. They learned that last year. They're coming up in the third round of the 6A Division I playoffs. He's next. Terry Gamble, SicEm365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, great. I keep telling you about places with stocking stuffers, whether it's, and you may say, wait a minute, Pickup Outfitters has bumpers and grill guards. They have gift cards too. Don Shumador, stocking stuffers, right? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness memberships, cards, gift cards, stocking stuffers. There's a lot of stocking stuffers that we promote for you if you're like waiting to do that last little, how do I, what else? Couple of things I need. Pickup Outfitters does one thing. They make a pickup truck, an SUV, or a minivan look better. Bumpers and grill guards. Covers for your bed covers for your pickup truck as far as your bed. Spray in and lay in bed liners. Some of this is big. It's going to be hard to put underneath the tree, but maybe you just want to, what the heck. Or you can buy what they need, someone who has a pickup truck, and then they go pick out their own bumper, grill guard, bolt, or anything else above, and they have it installed. And when you do, of course, Pickup Outfitters, that lifetime installation warranty, and they're going to help you, a lifetime installation guarantee. And they're also going to help you with any assistance when it comes to a warranty. That's what Jay Arid and his staff do. Gift card that could be a large something, but it's like this big, right? The size of a regular credit card. And you can get those at Pickup Outfitters. And not to mention, the showroom is loaded up with all sorts of bells and whistles. Not just pickup trucks, not just bed covers or spraying and laying bed liners, not bumpers and gill. They have more. And also things for your minivan and also SUV. Pickup Outfitters online at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive, createacommotion.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals
professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen Petrie.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
High school football playoffs, 5A and 6A reached the third round, the regional semifinals in 5A and 6A, Division I and also Division II. The 4As and below finished up their championship week last week. It's interesting because you always hear about a program, they want to practice during Thanksgiving. Well, this week, programs are practicing during Christmas week, and then it's going to be New Year's week. That's never happened before. We're joined by Terry Gamble, head football coach of Allen. They have Trinity coming up, Euless Trinity, in a clash of a couple of great traditions in football in Texas. Terry, Coach, how have you been?
Been doing great, David. Thank you for having me. Great to hear y'all's voices, and we're just thrilled to still be practicing. Now we're looking forward to practicing the day and playing the day after Christmas and the week of Christmas. So just a great time, and but really, really great to hear y'all's voices.
Well, you too, and we're happy for you, and congratulations. I know at Allen, though, the expectations, the standard is that you got to be playing like into February to satisfy or scratch the itch. What is it like, the standard, because you're the largest school and everyone thinks that means you have 6,000 athletes? What's it like to have that standard and the expectations?
Well, I think you, number one, that you look at it as you get to play at Allen, you get to coach at Allen, but when the season starts, you have to focus on how you're going to be successful with this team. And I think our players have done a great job of that this year. I think if you're not careful, that you can get humbled very quickly, and that you better focus on how you're going to be successful. Just as a young man, how are you going to be successful in the math and English class? Every year you move up in a grade. Well, you've got to refocus, and you've got to refocus and do the things that it's going to take to be successful in a football program, because we're not going to win on past history.
But you're playing a team this week that kind of has that similar thing with Euless. What is it like going into a week where you have kind of this clash of the Titans in a playoff game?
Well, the thing that we talk about is don't get so focused on who you're playing, get focused on how you're going to play. So this team has been very, very good at focusing on how we're going to practice, because I'm a firm believer if you practice well, then you have an opportunity to be successful on that game night. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to. So you've got to focus in on, number one, do your job.
What was it like playing at Globe Life Park?
Globe Life Park, everybody, you tend to forget when you walk in there, it's set up for a football field, but it's flat. There's no crown. And then the lighting on one end can be, the light can get pretty glaring into kids' eyes when they're fielding punts because of the location of it. But other than that, I think it's the best venue that's out there right now with everything that's going on, because all people can come. You can have a general admission ticket. You can bring your band. You can bring drill team cheerleaders. So it's like a high school environment. And I think it's the best thing that's going on right now in the state of Texas is playing at Globe Life.
So you're saying it's better than an artillery field in Killeen?
I'm not going to go there, but I am going to. I do remember that night very well.
God, that's great, Paul.
I do too. I remember that very well.
Craig asked about Globe Life Park, and Paul asked me if he could follow up. I didn't know where you were going with that. That was greatness. Absolutely greatness. Oh, I love it. Terry, it's been a crazy year, no question about it. You have seen players who have played at Allen and what they're doing around the country. Some when you were a coordinator there. You've seen what's happening with players you had at Midway, and also the players now that you're back at Allen. How much do you get a chance to actually communicate with them and keep up with them?
Well, I try to follow as many people as I can on Twitter and just, tell them how proud I am. For an example, like Jackson Player, I've reached out to him a couple of times, and what a great season he had. And it's not surprising to me because he has a high motor, and it's very important to him and his work habits and everything. So those type of people. And then, keeping up with Tanner Mordecai and his transition and just different ones. Kramer Robinson, Hunter Jarman. I've been able to keep up with those guys. And but I just, number one, just very thankful that I was around a great group of players there at Midway because they made me a better coach, and their families and people like that. And then here in Allen, it's very similar. I mean, when you're coaching, you're in a business that's all about relationships. And it's not about you. It's about the kids. It's about the community. It's about the kids and how we can help them be successful.
You got to see Jackson Player, some of these kids when they were in 7th, 8th grade from when you started. What was Jackson like before he was on varsity? Was he kind of that same way?
He was. He was. You didn't have to worry about Jackson Player being ready to play football because he loves the game. And when you see kids like that play the way they do, you know that it's important. And so as a coach, I feel great. It's the ones that have a hard time focusing in the classroom. I mean, to me, it goes hand in hand, and that's where people sometimes tend to forget about it. If they're highly successful in the classroom, I honestly believe they're going to be highly successful as a person. I think they're going to be highly successful as football players. I think that's why Jackson Player had the success that he's had for such a long period of time. We've got 2 freshmen up on our varsity here at Allen right now, and the reason that they've been able to be up on the varsity is because they're great young men. They take care of the business on and off the field, and they're very mature young men and adults. So I think it goes hand in hand.
Coach, you had 5 4th down stops, I believe, last week versus South Grand Prairie. I mean, what does that say about your defense? Obviously talented, but you got to have a kind of mentality to do that, don't you?
Well, I think it goes back to how you practice. And I tell our players that every day. If you want to be successful, then you've got to put something into it every day. Don't be a person that's just expecting that you're going to be given a victory because you put on a Midway Panther uniform or an Allen Eagle uniform. You've got to go earn it. And you've got to have your best practices because when you show up on game night, guess what? They know who they're playing, and they've had a great week of practice too. So we've got to go earn it. You've got to put something into it. And you've got to be at your best that night. Are you going to have a bad game? No. We only have bad plays. Never a bad game, just bad plays. Just like we used to talk all the time. There's no bad days. There's just bad moments.
Terry, the Trinity, the Trojans, we know their history, and they haven't been able to make as many deep runs as they did at one point with Steve Lineweaver, but they're still really good. And hey, they're there for a reason as well. Are they still the same team that will pound you with their size and the quarterback that's usually very athletic? Who are they now? What's their personality?
They're the same Trinity Trojans that you just said. Big up front. They will pound you, and then if you are in the secondary and you've got your eyes in the wrong place, then they are going to hurt you with play action and bootleg series. Defensively, they run a 3-4, and they love to play the game of football. So the Allen Eagles will have lots of challenges come Saturday night at 7:30. But at the same time, I know that they've got issues in defending us and what we're doing on both sides of the ball and kicking games. So it ought to be a great matchup with 2 great programs with great tradition. We have a lot of respect for them. just looking forward to the opportunity to get out there and compete in high school football. We're making history because we're going to play a game the day after Christmas, and not a lot of high school teams have that honor or do, they don't get to do this. So we've talked about that as a team. You are making history. So let's go make history even more special by taking care of our business.
Terry Gamble, head coach at Allen. They have Trinity coming up the day after Christmas in the 3A Division I 6A playoffs.
Do you have to keep the kids out of the Christmas stocking a little bit for practice and the game, Coach?
No, we've tried to balance it because I know the importance of family. I understand the importance of family time, so we've been practicing in the mornings, and then hopefully they're able to have some family time, and then they're able to focus when we have practice and do the things that it takes to be successful. So I think it's special, but at the same time, you need to have some family time, and you need to enjoy your family because we all know things that are going on in our world, in our society. Family's got to be number one, and don't ever take it for granted.
Well, speaking of a lot of those things, Coach, I mean, it's obviously, we've seen across the country where schools shut down, teams or, entire districts just decide not to play, states decide not to play, and Texas pushed on through, albeit with a slightly different schedule. As a proud member of the Coaches Association, the THSCA, there's no prouder organization out there. Are you pretty proud of the way Texas high school football has handled this season?
I am so proud of everybody in all the communities in the school districts, Texas High School Coaches Association, UIL, our administrative team here. We're under the great leadership with the superintendent, Dr. Robin Bullock, and our athletic director, Steve Williams, been in the profession for 46 years. And I think that you've got to focus on, number one, it's about kids. And what we were able to do this year for kids is they can have memories. We all remember back when we were in high school, and that's the most important thing, is the memories that you had. Instead of not having a memory and just caving in, we're able to have a successful season. And so my hat's off to everybody that is taken. And is there anything perfect out there? No. But where's your focus? We're given a day. Let's go make the most of it.
Terry, I did petition the UIL, and in February, even though it's the middle of realignment, it's an off year, I have told them that Duncanville, Allen, Cedar Hill, and DeSoto should all be in the same district effective immediately.
Well, that would be great programs, and you know what? If we all were, we come out, then you don't have to play each other for a long time in the playoffs. We can go jump in it and call it the little Big 12 or Southeastern Conference, because all college programs, that's what they do, whether it's the Big 10 or any of them. They play great programs.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Great to hear your voice. Good luck against Trinity and also onward as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank y'all, and y'all do still an awesome job, and appreciate you having me on. And really miss seeing you guys. I hope y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too. That's Terry Gamble, former Midway coach. He was at Allen prior to Midway. That was his first head coaching job. Took Midway to a state championship in 2011. Eventually, Allen. He's won a couple there at Allen as well. Remember the year they played Midway at McLean Stadium a couple of years ago? He lost his father that year. And then last year lost to Duncanville. I think it was in the third round, maybe the quarterfinal round. Quarterfinals or semifinal round. Yeah, coming up.
It got dicey last week. That was a 4-point win.
Absolutely, yeah, it did. When we come back, I believe we'll have Baylor athletic director. That's kind of, right now, as you can imagine, a lot of moving parts. We're hoping to have Mac Rhodes. If not, we'll go back to your calls and text messages. 254-339-1122, SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Got the holiday savings event going on right now, and I mean, look, folks, it's December 22nd. Not a whole lot of time to still take advantage of this deal, but imagine what kind of present you could deliver by going over to Richard Carr here in the next couple of days, and doing so, not just going and buying a vehicle, but getting treated with great customer service, and also potentially saving thousands of dollars. Maybe you're looking for, let's say, a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Well, how about $7,000 off of GMC Terrains? How about $7,500 off of Buick Envisions? Test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a compact SUV with loads of space and style. Well, you can get the 2020 Buick Encore for only $18,950. That's over $5,000 in savings on the top-selling Buick Encore. Maybe you're more of a pickup. You're a truck person. Well, how about the GMC Sierra? Power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's the best truck on the road. And during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Texas Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. And maybe you're looking for a little bit of luxury, the name. Well, there's no better brand, or not many better brands out there than Cadillac. And the ultimate gift this Christmas could be a Cadillac. Right now, you can save $3,000, get 0% financing for 72 months on most Caddies in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. And again, let Richard Carr bring that Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or office. And that goes for all vehicles as well. I mean, obviously, we're still in a pandemic time, if you will. Not everybody's necessarily comfortable going to the dealership, and that's okay. You can still buy a car because they will bring it to you and at least let you try it out and see if it's what you're looking for. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military members, and first responders. So right now, all these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. All cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold right now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So you get yourself a great deal, and at the same time, you give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's the holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Cap, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, so there's many things to look at when it comes to the coaching changes, and we have focused in today on the offensive side of the football. There are other possible changes. We mentioned it. It's the strength and conditioning staff is a part of this as well. And then you always wonder about others who could leave. That is also something to look at as well when it comes to coaches who are on staff, and then they start to see changes that perhaps they don't agree with, whether it's the strength and conditioning staff or something else. And then all of a sudden something starts to open up for them as well. So stay tuned for that as well. Mack Rhodes not available with us right now. He normally would be here. You know that's got to be something he's working on. And it could be today's news and also the repercussions from it, as far as I say that in a positive or negative way, of what they do next. 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. Your thoughts and comments again on the changes in the offensive staff that we've confirmed. Larry Fedora. There are other changes, and we're waiting still and working on that as well. And
Ashley just passed along one potential one that would be very interesting, and so we'll obviously wait for confirmation and things like that. But, yeah, this is going to be – it's already been an interesting offseason, folks, and this could get even more interesting. Obviously, there's now going to be a search of some sort to fill more than one position because there are more than, one coach. There's more than one coach that's out. And as last word as we have, and we've got pretty much confirmation on some of them, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what could happen. And what I mean also is that there's not just going to be somebody, an offensive coordinator to replace. There's going to be other spots as well. So, man, it's a massive decision by Dave Aranda. And, man, it's surprising. It was kind of out of nowhere, and I'm still just sort of shocked by it. And you should have heard my voice and Grayson as well when we were doing the podcast and got word of it. It's just like we didn't know what to say because
I just figured, and I put a poll up on the site on SicEm365 just to see what people would think. Do you think that this is necessary right now to do this, or would you like to see them wait a year? Because I'm curious if people are in the state of mind of like, okay, well, let's see what happens, because everything this year has been a disaster across every single walk of life. So give them another chance to install a system. But, I'm surprised. But then again, when you really look at the way that the season went and the opportunities that they had, because, look, I know that when you're in quarantine, you're not practicing. But at least as a coach, it gives you some time to go, okay, what can I change? Because you're not practicing. You can do that. They had opportunities because of those stoppages to maybe say, okay, where do we downshift to? And they didn't. And I think that's really kind of what undid Larry Fedora here, in that he had an opportunity to say, look, this is not working. I'm going to stop throwing this against the wall because it's not sticking. And then just kind of figured out what would. And he didn't do that. And I think that's how, they tripped.
I now can confirm, we've been mentioning Larry Fedora. We've told you quite a bit about the most likely next man up would be either Joe Wickline or someone. Wickline, as far as have not confirmed that. George Munoz is no longer a part of the coaching staff. That's now official.
There you go.
That has not been released anything.
And I don't think it's done.
Fedora and Munoz, we told you about Larry Fedora. That's the one we popped, 2 or 3 hours ago. And now George Munoz. Those are the two who were the ones you thought were the brainchild or would be the brainchild of the offense. And I haven't talked to either one of them, but I can tell you both are no longer on staff, is that they were butting heads on philosophical, personnel, whatever, across the board. And it just didn't work out. And that also could have led to what we saw at times as what is that on offense?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crapshoot what you were going to see, and it was mostly crap. I mean, honestly, it was. It was a frustration every week, and something had to give. I don't know. You can run it back like Terrell Bernard said he was going to do, or like Raleigh Tejada said he's going to do, and come back as players and run it back, and they're great players. But system-wise, there's going to have to be some change with this team. Not necessarily defensively, but you look at offense or at special teams and you go, okay, those are areas where we could certainly improve, and they could still get better on defense as well. But that's not the area that really cost you games this year. So you look at it, you go, okay, we only won 2 games. Why did we only win 2 games? Well, mostly because of either offense or special teams. And so how do we address that? And if it's a personality situation, or if it's it's just not a fit after one go round together, then you gotta move on, and it's best for both parties. But yeah, George Munoz officially out. Short stay for him in Waco. Had a lot of buzz because of what he was able to do at LSU. I remember talking to him in the offseason that one time, and I thought a lot of people felt like he was going to maybe be the offensive coordinator of the future. Ideally what would have happened was they come out this year, they play really well, they win enough games, Larry Fedora does well enough on offense that he starts to get head coaching interest again, right? And then maybe you promote Munoz, like playing the fan, like to keep everything in-house as possible as you can, but that's not going to be the case. I mean, it's going to be entirely different on offense as far as, the 2 top names on that side of the football. They're both now out, so I'm sure they'll be highly coveted. I'm sure both will land somewhere rather quickly if that's what they choose to do. But these are just a couple of major changes already, and there will be more. And I'm telling you right now, I'm obviously work for the website, but that premium section, that's where you're going to get a lot of the goods and things that we want to say that we can't quite say yet because we do have to have it confirmed and all that. But there's a lot of discussion. There was well over an hour ago, 10,000 views on the one thread about Fedora being gone, and I'm sure it's like 15 by this point, and tons of comments. So if you want to go jump in that mix or go look around and maybe get an idea of some of the rumors that are starting to emerge about names, or at least stylistically what they may be looking for. I know Colt had a note on that. Then head on over, but we'll be talking about it here as well. And
it's to 15 pages right now.
15 pages really? For just the Fedora note. So you can imagine the conversations going on. Most people are pretty thrilled by it. I think there's also, though, you get the opposite side. There's a lot of people that are like, somewhat confused or a little bit hesitant to celebrate too much. I know S11, Sam Bradshaw, for example, he is waiting to see who the next guy is before getting too excited one way or the other about it. I think Sam would probably agree that there were changes that need to be made, but at the same time, just because you get rid of somebody doesn't mean that the next guy is going to be better. As teams learn when they fire head coaches or when they fire coordinators and they think the grass is greener and they find out, no, it really wasn't. You were better off with what you had. So that's what Baylor's going to have to be really careful with as far as this hiring process goes. But it's a fascinating conversation, and I have a feeling it's going to get a lot more fascinating, and it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, so we know Fedora's out. Munoz, that was just something we wanted to make sure we confirmed. We had heard that as well among a couple of others, and you can tie in the strength and conditioning coach, Corey Campbell, and his staff as well.
Did you check your text just a second ago?
You guys have it up in front of you.
Check your text, I should say. And also Baylor, and we already knew this because you confirmed it, but a Baylor spokesperson has confirmed that Larry Fedora is no longer with the Bears. Well, so now, we knew that. I'm just saying Baylor has made it official.
Okay, so. And now I can tell you right now it's official. George Munoz is no longer a part of the coaching staff as well. I feel like it's almost like an election night where we're trying to do things as much as we can. I just need the guy that has the map. Mm-hmm. And again, we also have to realize these are jobs. These are people who get paid a lot of money to do things, and when they don't, unfortunately, there are circumstances and there are consequences. But this is a moving story, a constantly fluid story. Munoz, Fedora, Corey Campbell, and the strength and conditioning staff. And I also saw a couple of texts among us. One report that is not confirmed whatsoever, and I have been told completely not true. So that's why you got to confirm these stories, and that's why we're going to do that. All right, when we come back, the Negro Leagues, we told you about the statistics of some of the great names. Josh Gibson, even Henry Aaron and Willie Mays were a part of the old Negro Leagues at one point. That Major League Baseball is going to put them underneath their own umbrella, including many things. The acceptance, it should have happened many years ago, but it's happening now. And we will have a representative from the Negro League Baseball Museum. He's the curator and also the vice president. He's going to join us in the next segment. Still continuing breaking news. We'll have that with you. If we can get Mac Rhodes on, we will. That seems to be right now a 50-50 proposition because there is stuff going on right now, left and right. And this is SicEm365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas. 5 locations right here at home. Waco, Woodway, Hewitt, China Spring, Martin, and Hillsboro. Familiar faces making local decisions. Here to help you, your family, and your business, whether it's great times or tough times. All of us need a bank we can count on. Great people with great technology dedicated to their customers and helping our area grow. Safe banking in person or use their online and mobile apps. Convenient drive-through and ATMs at all locations. Look, it's the holidays. You're spending a lot of money on your card, on your account. You want to make sure it's secure. There's online things. Like I got a text alert on a different card today that I had to change my password because of a data leak and all that. So it can be very nerve-wracking. Well, the First National Bank of Central Texas, they have Secure Lock equipped so you can control how your debit card is used, instant notifications when your card is used, turn your card on and off. You can control ATM withdrawals, and you can set spending limits. And say something does happen and it is compromised, you have a new card printed in minutes, immediate activation and access to funds and emergency card replacements. Personal and mortgage loans, they do that as well. You got to fix your credit. You've got want to get a house. You want, just anything that you need. Believe me, they'll work with you. Mackie Bonner worked with me a couple times, and she was fantastic. Link Harris was fantastic as well. They are great at the First National Bank of Central Texas. 5 locations right here at home.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience. It's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com.
More to come on Baylor and staff changes, and I got a couple of nuggets I'll add to that in a little bit about how all this starts to get out and how this went down that could also in the future be handled a little bit differently. We discussed this last week, that the Major League Baseball is going to, under their umbrella, bring in the Negro Baseball League, the history, the stats, and much, much more. It's long overdue. And so we've been working on trying to have somebody come in that could give us more insight on this and what it means to the history of Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and even the greats of Willie Mays, Henry Aaron, among many others. Raymond Doswell, he's the vice president and curator of the Negro League Baseball Museum. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Raymond, I know that there has been maybe discussion, but when did this become something that was more than just talk and became something that you thought was a legitimate situation?
Well, thanks for having me on. Admittedly, it wasn't really in the museum's radar, but there were some journalists in late summer, early fall who started asking the question in regards to the status of the Negro Leagues as major leagues. From a designation standpoint. I mean, for the museum, we always thought of them as major league. It hadn't really crossed our mind, but some journalists started digging it up and asking the question of historians, of which there are a number of historians who have been working on trying to compile statistics and things like that. And then that rolled into the interest of specifically Brian Gumbel and the Real Sports program, who posed a question as well to Major League Baseball. And so MLB then thought about it, and then last week we had the announcement, and everyone's been quite excited about it.
Well, Raymond, I've been to your museum, I want to say 3 or 4 times when I go up to the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen or been to. It's a great museum. It's really fun to go through for people who haven't been there. And just for you to be able to now put up, new displays talking about Josh Gibson's records, and I know his are probably some of the hardest to figure out, but adding Willie Mays in, what does that do for just the draw of your museum and people want to walk through the door?
Well, it's an interesting question. I'll say that, honestly, the museum had never really depended deeply on statistics because, as you know, and even though there's some folks out there working really hard on trying to get the statistical record as much as possible, there's no way to get a full 100% full record on statistics at a Negro League. But statistics are part of telling the story. And so what it does for us, it helps us get even closer to the truth of these players' great abilities. And I can say honestly, this story, among all the things that we have done, has been one of the more interesting stories among fans and folks who are really interested in supporting Negro League's history. Just going back again, for some reason, those who were making the official record books in the Baseball Encyclopedia and working with the different sports bureaus back in the 60s never really considered the Negro Leagues as being major league status. For some reason, I don't want to say wholly it was racism, but probably was. It's just unbelievable that they ignored that history compared to some of the other leagues that were considered having major league status. But finally, this is certainly an oversight that has been corrected, and it'll just allow us to continue to bring greater attention to the players and their accomplishments.
I know you said that there's been a lot of reaction, but what kind of reaction have you gathered, if any, from family members of some of these players, or just anybody involved? What kind of the reaction to this happening has there been?
Well, as our president Bob Kendrick says, the players themselves didn't need any validation. They knew how good they were, and but I'm sure if many of them were alive, they would greatly appreciate it. And I think the family members too appreciate this great recognition and this attention. It is important to note, however, that what Major League Baseball has done has taken a pretty large segment of what we consider the Negro Leagues, and I want to emphasize leagues plural. There are several different leagues, not all existing at the same time. And we focus primarily here at the museum on 1920 to 1960, and obviously we talk about what happened before that. But what MLB has focused on a swath of leagues, 1920 to 1948, which is the year after Jackie Robinson. So I think that's purposeful in that regard. Some will argue that probably a few other years should have been added after that, but that's to be debated. But certainly it does cover what I think is the large, for lack of a better word, heyday of the key teams and key leagues that were operating, and certainly some of the greatest talent that those leagues had played in that time period.
Raymond, the statistics, and this is just me. I'm 61 years old. I've always loved statistics. I'm not nearly as involved. I couldn't tell you who won the league home run record or who won the home run title last year. I could probably guess, but I just, because of my age and growing up when Aaron and Mays and others were playing, and so a lot of things were happening with Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's record, Mays at 666, among others. Statistics do mean a lot to a lot of people. How long could that process take? And is that almost like trying to get a needle in a haystack to make sure all the right records are found?
That's an interesting metaphor. I think what you're going to see is more of a slow rolling stone collecting moss more than anything else. So it's an evolving story. Like I said, there's some historians out there, and again, the museum is more of a consumer of this information than we are a creator of the information. We're not really spearheading any specific research, but there's a group of folks, many of them are members of Society of American Baseball Researchers, SABR, and there are websites out there like Seam Heads and historians like Larry Lester and Phil Dixon and others who have been looking at trying to, first of all, find box scores of games that constitute just play in general, but even more so now, league play in general. Because Negro League teams, in addition to playing against their league teams, say, just for example, a team in St. Louis would travel to Chicago to play the league team there, but they could pick up extra games along the way to make money. These were entrepreneurs in many sense. But those games don't count in terms of those records, just the games between St. Louis and Chicago. So you got to sort through all of that. But a lot of that dirty work has been done, but that work continues because they're always finding more and more games to cover. But that's part of the story too, the fact that there aren't enough statistics. You can go back and you can go to Babe Ruth's very first game and get his daily activity from the time he started playing in Major League Baseball, maybe even minor league baseball, all the way to the end of his career, because he was covered daily in the newspapers every day. Because of racism and segregation, Negro League games were only covered on the weeklies, and fortunately, we had black weekly newspapers who covered these games. There weren't beat writers for the Negro Leaguers. It wasn't a daily record, so these historians had to go back and rediscover this material and pull it all together. A lot of the dirty work has been done. There's a good sizable chunk of material, but it's only part of the story, and they're just constantly trying to scour these records and these newspapers. Major or daily newspapers sometimes occasionally would cover the Negro Leagues, especially if something unique happened, or if they came to a community and they would cover it, but they were not covered on a daily basis the same way as Major League Baseball, and that's part of the story and part of the problem.
It is also because you mentioned there were multiple leagues, and so if you were a player who was a great hitter and played in 3 different leagues, isn't your history kind of at the mercy of how your individual teams might have covered your own exploits?
Well, I guess in terms of how it relates to this announcement and the designation of the major leagues, certainly you have players who may have played in one of the league teams that were part of this parameter between 1920 and 1948, but may have played on one of these, for example, Negro Southern League teams where the league kind of started and stopped. MLB is recognizing the 1932 season for the Southern League, but not recognizing the 1926 season or the 1948 season, and you may have played in those other times. Or moreover, a league like the last primary league, the Negro American League, which MLB is recognizing through 1948, but that league lasted till 1955, 1956. So there are player stats who, only half of their tenure with those teams will be considered part of the major league records as opposed to the rest of it. So, yeah, it's a lot more confusion. But again, it's a first step, and historians are going to be sorting that out in terms of how that works. And again, it just allows us to have a discussion about these great players within the same context as their contemporaries in the major leagues or federal leagues or whatever else is recognized. And that, again, continues to allow for further discussion about the Negro Leagues, keeps the history alive, and hopefully others will want to come, and they'll come to a place like us to learn more about that.
Raymond, I was just reading up about you before, knowing that we were going to have you on the show. Do you still play chess?
I'm quite rusty, but
okay.
I do play, and I'm trying to teach my boys, and they're learning at school. So it's a game that I enjoy, and I know someone like our Royals manager here, Mike Matheny, when he was in St. Louis, is something that he supported as well.
Well, I know you've had a very interesting journey. You're in teaching. You've been kind of all over the place. Your journey, what led you to what you're doing right now and being involved with the Negro League Baseball Museum?
Well, I am an educator by training. I've taught middle school and high school very briefly, but got an opportunity to go to graduate school and learn about what we call public history, and that's museums and archives and historic preservation. And had a great experience there to take my love of education and work in a place like this, where as a teacher is a giant show and tell facility, pictures and artifacts and things like that. So I'm still a teacher at heart, and I'm originally from the St. Louis area and remain a St. Louis Cardinals fan, even though I live in Kansas City now, and they don't tease me about the '85 World Series, but it's still a sore spot for me. But no, we've enjoyed a great relationship with the Royals, and do cheer for them. They've had some up and down years, but I tell you, that success they had in 2014, 2015 was something that also helped catapult the museum into national spotlight as everyone was descending on Kansas City. So I've enjoyed it. It's quite rewarding work. I mean, I meet international visitors. I've met famous people, presidents, and politicians and actors and actresses. I met everyone from the famous to the infamous. And honestly, probably one of the most famous that haven't been here is the Pope. I mean, really, you never know who's going to walk through the door here. It's great work. I'm more of I don't consider myself a baseball historian per se. There are people who are smarter than me that do that, but my job is to connect the dots. I connect you to information on baseball and especially African American history, and I've been here for 25 years, and it's working out pretty good.
Yeah, it's an incredible place. By the way, I started covering baseball as far as a radio talk show in 1990, and I was in Port Charlotte, Florida. The Rangers trained there. Now they're in Surprise, Arizona, and have been for a long time. But I'll never forget how nervous I was to ask Charlie Pride to come on my talk show, and he did. And he was the one, not only did he say yes, but he said what time. And, you never know sometimes, and that's the kind of man that he was. He was very connected, as you know, to the Rangers in baseball. And you guys have now added, I guess, a memory or remembering him and his connection to baseball as well. Is that right?
Well, Mr. Pride has been a big supporter of the museum, but what folks didn't know, and I realized I didn't know until I started working here, was that he started out playing baseball, and he played in the end of the Negro Leagues in the 50s. He played in Memphis with the Memphis Red Sox, and he also played with the Birmingham Black Barons, among other teams, and he went kind of back and forth between the Negro Leagues and minor league baseball for a while. He was recruited as a pitcher and was a pretty good pitcher until he hurt his arm. And one of the legends, though, about him was that he and another teammate from Memphis, this is near the end of the Negro Leagues, those teams were beginning to struggle, but they were still out there entertaining the fans and playing very well. But the team needed transportation, and so they traded him and a teammate to Birmingham for a bus.
Oh, wow.
and so and he loved telling that story. He's been to the museum many times, and he's very proud of his baseball accomplishments, and probably really was his first love. But fortunately for him, he had an affinity for music and a talent for it. And, of course, his extremely unique story of being African-American in country music at that time led to a Grammy and Hall of Fame career in music. And we're extremely saddened. I got a chance to meet him on a number of occasions. He would come to our golf tournament and perform. And as you said, with the Rangers, I remember him being in the Rangers general manager's office, and he just called up the museum. He wanted to do this or that, and I talked to him about it, and he had some idea about doing something. And he was just a very sweet man, and we miss him. And in baseball in general, we've lost so many players, especially this year, so many iconic players. I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention my favorite player of all time, Lou Brock, who was very special to me, and got a chance to meet him, and Bob Gibson, and as a Cardinal fan, and then so many of the other Hall of Famers that we lost this year. There's an era of players and people who experienced that post-integration period, Joe Morgan, that we've lost this year, and it's an important time to remember the history of our sport amidst everything else that's going on in the world.
We really appreciate you, Raymond. We really do. I'm so glad. I sent that email as a flare last night, and I sent a couple before, but I sent it to the wrong place, which is, again.
You did like at Gmail rather than the other, or whatever.
And so when you responded this morning and then said you'd be available, it was great to hear, and a fantastic segment, a lot of insight as well.
And this is going to be a big year, right? The 100-year anniversary. There's going to be, obviously, are they going to do? There's going to be honors for Sunday games, right? In Major League Baseball.
Well, we did that already.
Oh, that's right.
Anniversary
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay though. But the anniversary was in February officially, and we were able to kick off a lot of things. Of course, the pandemic canceled a lot of things, so we're hoping to move some things into next year. You should certainly have your listeners go to our website at nlbm.com and our Facebook page, and they hear announcements about a lot of things. We'll have to do some things virtually, but that'll actually allow some more folks to access some of our programming that wouldn't normally be able to come up to Kansas City. So keep watching that, and there'll be lots of announcements and hopefully even more connections to Major League Baseball as well.
Hey, Raymond, thank you very much for what you do and also the insight. Raymond Doswell with us, again, a part of the Negro Baseball Museum in Kansas City. We appreciate your time. Thank you, and a Merry Christmas as well. As Raymond Doswell with us. J.J. Joe just checked in about the news with Fedora and now Munoz. We had that a long time ago. Baylor is now confirming what we reported, 5 hours ago or so. We appreciate that. And we'll have J.J. Joe with his thoughts about what all this means, or his thoughts about the decisions. And then also there still will be more. Right now we know that it's Fedora and Munoz, the strength and conditioning staff. Here's something I wanted to bring up when we came back with Mr. Doswell. If you fire the strength and conditioning coach, in this case Corey Campbell, what's he going to do?
He's going to go somewhere else.
He's going to tell everybody that's a part of the program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's going to start saying, guys, I'm sorry. You remember the day of Pepper Hamilton, and there's a mass text message, And then what does that do? It's spread. So this thing kind of spread quickly and got out there. And luckily we were a part of it on the very beginning of it. And then you start having coaches talk, and then you have players talk, and you have families talk, and you have others talk. And so this thing kind of went almost like you wanted to wait. You had a leadership council. That was too late. And so that's kind of how some of this gets out there. The strength and conditioning coach, Kaz Kazadi, Scott, Jeremy Scott, Corey Campbell, these guys are more connected to every player in that program more than any coach or anybody. And so that's kind of that happened, though. So there's got to be someone that Dave Aranda has on his mind or has already spoken to or will speak to, and that's how this thing, like a fire in California.
So just to update you, George Munoz out, Larry Fedora out, strength and conditioning out. What am I missing?
As of right now, still on the offensive staff, Joe Wickline, Sean Bell, and also Juice Johnson. As of now, and that doesn't mean when I say as of now that they are, not also a part of this discussion. We don't know that. That's what we've been able to do. And no yet comments or any statements that we know of from Dave Aranda. Perhaps he's waiting to make sure when he fills out his staff, he will do that as well. We appreciate a lot of you who have been a part of it, from the premium section to Twitter, to the text line, to the chat room, to listening to us and watching us on this show. Armstrong, great job running the mothership. David Hellman on the Cowboys. J.J. Joe on today's decisions. And also John McClain a little after 5:30, SicEm365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites, for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Christmas time is Jeep time at Allen Samuels. It's the big finish event, and the world's most awarded SUV has 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on select models. Save thousands on the rugged Renegade and new 2020 Grand Cherokees. Even new 2021 Jeep Cherokees are included. 0%, no payments for 90 days. Employee pricing for all. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Onside kick. Nice catch right there. It's Lamb. He's off to the races. And this baby is over. And Dallas gets that play with Lamb returning it all the way for a touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. We'll be here again tomorrow from 3 until 6. Already loaded up a pretty good show. We'll have Dave Hennigan, the head coach at Ryan High School out of Denton. Ryan, they play Longview. We heard from Terry Gamble from Allen. And, of course, thanks to Raymond Doswell from the Negro League Baseball Museum, who just joined us as well. The breaking news, Larry Fedora and George Munoz out with the Baylor offensive coaching staff and also the strength and conditioning staff. And we're now joined by David Hellman. David, your former defensive coordinator, Dave Aranda, doing some work here today on the offensive staff at Baylor, as you know, was not very good at all as far as the results. What are your thoughts about Bo Pelini and LSU as you being a big Tiger fan?
Just thrilled that he doesn't work for them anymore, more than anything. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw somebody make the joke, the writing's been on the wall that was coming since probably halftime of the first game of the season. Just, I know it's a trying year for everybody, and we've seen a lot of bad results across the country, but I mean, if you put the worst defense on the field in the history of LSU's entire program, like even including the 1800s, that's probably not a great sign. So not surprising, but as a way too overly invested LSU fan, I can't say I was sad about it.
David, so for Cowboys fans who were Team Tank, that has pretty much been ruined now because they've got the 9th place in the draft. What is the Twitter mentions been like for people for you on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Team Tank is not really a fitting moniker anymore because even if they lose these last 2 games, the damage has kind of been done if you're somebody that wants a high draft pick. Because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the top 3 to 5 is probably not very realistic now. I think it is what it is. And I hate to say this, but if you're the person that wants them to get as good a pick as possible, it's probably irrelevant now as long as they don't wind up winning the division. Because if they win the East, now you're talking about picking 19th or 20th, and if they happen to win a playoff game, then it gets even higher. But as long as they don't win the East, you're still probably talking about a top 12 pick. And I think you're right. They're like 8th or 9th right now. So is there a huge difference between 8th and 10th? I mean, somebody would probably say so, but I don't think so. So it is what it is. The top 5 is probably out of reach for you if that's what you want, but there's still a pretty good shot they're going to wind up with a nice draft pick.
David, Eagles this week, and not Carson Wentz at quarterback. Jalen Hurts, what did you think of what he did last weekend? And how does that change maybe your thoughts on the game or what the Cowboys prepare for?
I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say, but that's why Hurts is playing. It's like, I'm more scared about playing rookie second-round pick than Jalen Hurts if I'm the Cowboys. Carson Wentz tried his best to give them the game the first time they played. They just didn't have a quarterback who could take advantage of it. He threw 2 picks and had another fumble. I think Philly had 4 turnovers in that game. I mean, that more than anything is why Carson Wentz isn't playing. It's the turnover issues. So now, and then, Hurts, he's thrown a couple picks in his starts, but taking far better care of the ball. He's also run for 100 yards in each of his starts. You think about the Cowboys' problems at linebacker and the fact that Leighton Vander Esch probably isn't going to play in this game. I mean, you should be scared of Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's clearly given Philly a little bit of a spark in the 2 games that he's started. And, I mean, it sounds dumb to say because Carson Wentz is on a $32 million contract, but I'd much rather be playing him than Hurts right now.
You know, the odds are there, though. A week or two ago, it looked like it was impossible for them to somehow find a way to win the division, but they need to win. Everyone always, well, Washington leads to Carolina, whatever. They still have to win, and I don't think are either one of their games a gimme in any way. Is anything they do right now a gimme?
Oh, you can't call any game a gimme when you're 5-9, and when you've seen, some of the depth that this season has gone to, and clearly they're playing much better than they have. But you're also talking about the Cincinnati Bengals and a 49er team that has even more people on injured reserve than they do. So this is going to be interesting. Like these are even matchups, even if they weren't division games, and then you factor in the part where your divisional rival's better than most. So. To be honest, just as a fan of football, like for as much as we've dogged the NFC East this season, and rightfully so, this should still be a pretty exciting Sunday because the league flexed Washington into the 3:00 window, so you got these two games happening at the same time. Dallas is playing pretty well, maybe arguably the best that they played since Dak Prescott got hurt, and Philly seems to have this juice from starting Jalen Hurts, so. Make fun of the records all you want, but this should be pretty fun. And, that's why we watch football in the first place.
David, how strange is this going to be for the Cowboys and the Eagles in that? I know, and look, the Washington football team has problems at quarterback. If Alex Smith isn't back and Dwayne Haskins might get suspended because he was at a strip club without a mask on, which I don't know how much good a mask would have done in that scenario. But even still, if Washington wins, the Cowboys and Eagles before this game starts have completely different goals as far as the rest of the season.
Well, no, but that's the fun thing, and I applaud the NFL for doing what they did because I think Washington starts at 3 now, and Philly and Dallas start at 3:25. So they're not going to know what's up, and they're not going to know what's at stake. I'm sure they'll have people watching the score of the other game, and players and coaches love to lie about stuff like that. Like Mike McCarthy will absolutely have a way of knowing what's going on in that game, but the outcome won't be decided. So it's. As far as the Cowboys and Eagles are concerned, it's all up for grabs. I don't know what Washington's going to do. That's, we can talk all, people have done dumb stuff throughout this pandemic, but with Alex Smith being hurt, Dwayne Haskins basically knowing he's the difference between Washington having a quarterback or not having anybody because Kyle Allen's already on injured reserve. That's just an exceptionally stupid bit of decision-making on his part. Hopefully, it doesn't come back to bite his team too much.
And a head coach recovering from cancer.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful point. Yeah, he's not alone. Obviously, people across this country are making questionable decisions every day, but that's pretty exceptionally dumb in my opinion. Just with all of those circumstances and the fact that Washington is a win or two away from making the playoffs as well.
I say this somewhat jokingly, David, but has the Cowboys Pro Shop been having to restock Tony Pollard jerseys here lately?
I don't want to dog TP, but I don't know if he was really ever on that level. Fourth round draft pick, and you got a guy like Zeke in front of you on the depth chart. I don't know if I've ever seen a Tony Pollard jersey in the wild, but if he keeps playing the way he did on Sunday, that definitely might change.
Hey, thanks a lot, David. We appreciate your time. Have a great Christmas. We'll speak with you soon next week, hopefully. And
absolutely.
Be good. All right? Thanks,
you. Guys. Appreciate it.
That is David Hellman with DallasCowboys.com.
How about Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray right now? And I saw somebody put together the stats. They were ridiculous. From just last weekend alone, those three guys, it was like over 1,000 yards passing and 10+ touchdowns and whatever. But Lincoln Riley's got a good thing at Oklahoma. They're going to win every year while he's there. But the more he keeps putting proven quarterbacks, and I think Kyler's the real deal. I think Baker's going to be around for a while. I don't know how successful he'll ultimately be, but I think he'll be around a while. And I think Jalen Hurts has already made people flip their opinions on what they originally thought. The more he does things like that, the harder it's going to be for NFL teams to not basically say, here's a blank check. Come run our show here, because that's a ridiculous level of talent he's put in the league in the last 3 years.
Well, quick college football note that we got to take a break, come back with JJ Joe and the changes with the offensive staff at Baylor. Is Brian Harsin now is apparently the target to become the next head football coach at Auburn.
Yes, he is. Apparently, they just need to sign the contract, I guess. But, this has been going round and around. It's been a weird coaching search for Auburn. And then there was actually rumors as of a couple of hours ago that they were revisiting Hugh Freeze as a potential candidate. And I'm glad that that's not going to happen.
A couple more days and I'd have been a candidate. I just needed a couple of more days.
Well, I was going to ask David if he wanted to be the Auburn head coach, but then he'd have to play LSU. But, I'm not a Hugh Freeze fan. Brian Harsin, I'm not probably ecstatic about that if I'm an Auburn fan, but he's solid. So we'll see, I guess.
When we come back, J.J. Joe, his thoughts about both Larry Fedora and also George Munoz out, what it means in his opinion. Next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Check out the incentives. These are just the appetizers. Everybody gets employee pricing on almost the new vehicles. Nearly every new vehicle has 0% financing for whatever you want, 60, 72, or 84 months. And every new vehicle, no payments for 90 days. So that's like a trifecta of a lot of good things. The vehicles also have been deeply discounted, include those beautiful Ram trucks, back to back, third consecutive year, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. Most rewarded SUV in history, the Jeep has big-time incentives on Jeeps, including the 2021 Cherokees, 0% for 72 months employee pricing, no payments for 90 days. The Gladiator, 100% truck, 100% SUV, the Swiss Army knife of SUVs, and the Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. King of the minivans, the most luxurious family ride around, up to $9,500 in values, and also employee pricing as well. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84, and also AlanSamuelsDCJ.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care.
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
The 2016 Baylor football team that had the ups and then the downs, but then went to a bowl game and beat Boise State. Brian Harsin was the head coach when they won that game in Phoenix to close out the season. Under Jim Grobe and that staff that was on its way out the door, Brian Harsin has agreed to become the new head coach at Auburn. We just mentioned he was the target. He's agreed. He was 69-19 with Boise State. So that's one of the bigger names bigger schools out there.
Here's another
that no longer has a head coach issue.
Sorry to cut you off there. Brennan Eagles from Texas is entering the NFL draft, the big wide receiver. And I know they had, Demarion Overshone announced that he's coming back for 2021. So it's a good player on defense, but they will be losing Brennan Eagles as we see all these Big 12 guys make decisions like we saw with Baylor over the last week.
We're now joined by J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback. He also was the color analyst for the Baylor Radio Network as well with Learfield and IMG. And J.J., we've been popping this for about the last 5 hours, and it never stops. There's one big banger story after another, and now your thoughts about not only Larry Fedora, but George Munoz no longer with the Baylor coaching staff.
Yeah, Smoke, hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. And I tell you, it kind of popped me because I was kind of out of the loop a little bit until just recently seeing the news. But I'm not surprised just because of, just how things went. And it's not just kind of the overall, hey, the offense didn't meet expectations. But I think it was more development driven. I mean, as I looked throughout the season, what I expected with Coach Fedora is I expected to see the offense just progressively get better over the year. I figured by week 4 or 5 or game 4 or 5 that this team would be not perfect, but, much more productive. But we just didn't get there. And I hate to see Coach Fedora go. I know him personally. And I know he has a great background, but, you know how it goes. If you don't produce, for whatever, the person who is at the top of the ship as it relates to the offense or defense and ultimately the head coach, somebody has to pay. And coming off of a Big 12, championship game appearance, this offense just should have been better. It should have been better.
JJ, one of the things I kind of noticed is they had, especially with the stopping and starting, they had every reason not to be good on offense. But one of the things that, kind of became apparent to me as the season went on is that Larry Fedora was kind of very intent on installing his system, even when it just wasn't working with the lack of time they had to get ready for it, and didn't kind of pivot until it was too late. Is that maybe one of the reasons why this offense didn't develop, is because he was trying to fit square pegs in round holes?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it. And I really, it's just the frustrating thing to me being, a former quarterback is up front. It wasn't all on the offensive line, but, a big part of it was. And the question I had the whole season was, can these young men do what they're asking them to do? Or is it an issue of scheme? But really what I saw late in the season is what I saw early. We just were, we were losing battles up front on too consistent of a basis. And when that happens, offensive football looks horrible. And the challenge for me is that didn't get better. It really didn't get that much better. We had a couple games here or there. So, I saw Coach Fedora before the season. We were watching the scrimmage. And I had a chance to just speak briefly to him. And I asked him, I said, hey, man, I said, with all this, how how's install going? I can imagine. And he said, hey, at that time, he said, man, we're probably at 30 or 40%. And this is right before the season was going to start. So I think that the offense did not fit the personnel. I think that was part of it. You could tell as well that maybe there was, not some agreement on what each person in the offensive room wanted to happen. And I'll tell you, one of the other disappointing things for me, besides kind of the running backs being hurt, is the receivers. I really thought that between Tyquan and RJ and Josh Fleeks and Gavin Holmes coming back, and then they had some young guys who could really fly, in addition to Tyquan who can fly, right? I just was expecting to see, even if we had to get the ball out quick, guys being open. Man, we were covered like a blanket on a bed most of the time, and that really was surprising to me as well. But hey, look, whoever they bring in, I mean, he's got to find he's going to bring in the guy he wants, and hopefully there will be some improvement.
Do you have any ideas in mind, JJ, as far as just like what you would like to see from this Baylor offense moving forward? What you think would perhaps work better? Not necessarily like, hey, run this play, but just, I guess, the changes that maybe you saw that could have taken place during the season that would benefit them here in the next season.
We started to see some of it. I thought early on in the season, I think we got scared to try to have Charlie hold the ball because maybe we couldn't block. But I really want to start with the development up front. I just refuse to believe that the young men we have cannot be average Big 12 offensive linemen. And we did not see average Big 12 offensive linemen up front. Now, Wickline's still on the staff. He's got street cred. So I got to believe that Wickline can develop guys. He's got too much street cred, too much experience. But I just got to believe that with all those guys coming back, it has to start there because everything offensively, whether you want to go to even the quick passing game or be able to push the ball, this is Texas. We got track kids playing receiver, man. I mean, you got to be able to get that ball vertical, and we struggled. A lot of people wanted to put that on Charlie and his arm strength, and in a sense, I did agree. But we've seen Charlie throw the ball deep, so I would like to see, if you had my druthers, I mark everything by pre-browse and after browse, right?
Right.
So I know that's never going to happen, but something that could really take advantage of the talents here in Texas. But man, I just would like to see whoever's going to coach those guys up front, they develop those guys. We're going to find guys who can run the ball. We're going to find guys who can run and catch it. Matter of fact, in Texas, you should be able to find a quarterback who can spin it. You got to find some guys who can develop those 5 dudes up front. Period. In the blank, and the scheme has to fit them.
Do you want, and you're talking about the offensive line, do you want an offensive coordinator who's going to try to make the system fit what he wants to do, or also a developmental type of guy when it comes to quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running game?
It's got to be a developmental guy. Yeah, I say we're in the Power 5, we're Big 12, we're Baylor. Every once in a while, we're going to get a 5-star. Most of the young men we're going to get are going to be 3, 4, some 2s, and they're going to develop the snot out. That's what Taft did. Browse won some 5-stars, but if you think of Browse guys, he never really often got 5-star guys. Browse's quarterback sat on the bench, and those guys, when they came in, they were highly productive. So I really want an offensive coordinator that can find his talent, see what he has, and fit the offense to that talent. We've seen the coach win here by just putting the running back there. So at the end of the day, a good coordinator will say, hey, I got a system, but based on the talent that's here, based on the talent I'm recruiting, I'm going to fit that system. But at the same time, you got to have guys who are committed to developing players. That's what's going to work at Baylor. You got to develop a young man. He can't come in as a freshman and be the same as a junior or sophomore. Mm-hmm. He's got to be significantly better.
JJ, when you see a coaching staff change in a year like that, is this, some people will say that is a bad thing, but isn't it a good thing that Dave Aranda recognized really quickly that this wasn't working and just decided it's best for everybody to restart?
Yeah, I think what's obvious is we got, our quarterback who could come back, he's gone. Now, that was Charlie's choice, and I pray that he works out well for him at Utah. I think that's a good spot for him. The offensive coordinator is gone. And I like the fact I had no doubt that Coach Aranda, he's soft-spoken, but I have no misconception that he wouldn't pull the trigger if he needed to in his first gig. This is his first gig. He's coached a long time, and this is his first head gig. So was I surprised he decided to go both with Coach Munoz and Coach Fedora? Yeah. But if you look at the offense didn't come together. It didn't improve. That's on the OC. Ultimately, it's going to be on the OC. And if I look at the talent they had on the edge, those guys did not produce. Yeah, R.J. Snead had fantastic 9 games where he made some outstanding catches. But I'm going to tell you, we did have some kids wide open, but I'll ask, like Jalen Ellis. I saw that kid running, and I was like, okay, that kid looks like he can outrun the wind, right? He should not finish the season with 2 catches. Yeah. So even though he's a freshman, he's young. I'm going to throw it to him and make him prove to me that he can't catch it. He can run that fast. Mm-hmm. So I mean, ultimately, you start looking around, and what I see, I think Coach, he's seen it. He saw it, and he saw it more intimately because he was in practice with him. But you got to have a guy who can develop, and you just can't get enamored with names. I don't think. You got to find somebody who can do the job.
So, JJ, they've brought in a couple of transfers. Siaki Ika, the big nose tackle. There's no doubt they needed somebody there in the middle to plug things up on the D-line, so he fits the bill there. They got the grad transfer wide receiver in Drew Estrada, plus the high school players they signed. But how about the fact that, this wild year that we're in, everybody's got a free year, free transfer, everything. Treston Ebner, Xavier Newman, Raleigh Tejada, Terrell Bernard, Jared Atkinson, all of them are coming back. How huge is that?
Man, it's huge. I mean, we lost Yusuf, and I was thinking it was going to be a mass exodus. I was thinking everybody was going to part it. I mean, Katie barred the door, to be frank with you, especially on the offensive side. I figured defensively we would be fine unless those guys said, look, I'm not sure if we're going to win. But I think, getting that transfer from Dartmouth, that's a fantastic win. Young man has got some, it's Ivy League, but he's got talent. And then I think, having Treston come back, I thought that was huge for him. He needed to come back. And this is home for him, so I was so glad to see that. That was huge. Atkinson as well. But I'm going to tell you what, I can't say that guy's name. When I saw that nose tackle commit, I did a dance, and I don't even dance, my friend. Trust me. I was like, hey, because before I wrote an article for SicEm365, my last one, and I said they need to find a way to get Chitty, Obaniah, or Gabe Hall. Those guys have to play because they're 6'5", 305. Well, if they don't come on with it, they won't play. Because now you got this young man in. He can play that one technique. He can play that nose, that one technique. And he can take up and help us in the run game. And Chitty and Gabe, they should, hopefully they stick around and they develop as well. But add that to Ryan Miller, all this depth you have at the defensive line. I'm going to tell you, man, winning guys like that, that's huge, huge, huge. And I'm going to tell you, you're looking at this defense with Bernard coming back. Man, I might turn it. I might start just tell the offense to punt. Let me see how guys play defense.
Siaka Ika.
Siaka Ika.
And his nickname is Apu.
His nickname is Apu.
Yeah.
Apu. And
I'm going to say that.
You know what his nickname is? Whatever he tells it needs to be.
Exactly.
Grayson had a really.
That's huge, man.
Yeah,
that's huge, man. That's huge. And when we play teams that I think about Iowa State, and I know he's a big guy. And they say, can he move? Teams that started running on us late. Brees Hall had a big thing. Then Oklahoma State came. When you have teams that really want to load up, you just got to have a guy who they have to run around, and that's huge. And I would love to see him. I think Coach Aranda, of course, is familiar with him. He's playing that scheme, and man, I'm excited. Man, I'm excited about that.
Grayson had a note he said to me earlier today where I think Ika's already 50 pounds heavier than anybody they have on the D-line. Like already. It just stepping on campus, he's already 50 pounds heavier than everybody. So, yeah, he's going to be that dude there in the middle. JJ changes, strength and conditioning staff looks like they're on their way out as well. Yeah. How much as a player is that a massive change, if at all?
Let me put it this way. When you're a D1 college football player, you spend inordinately more time with strength and conditioning staff than you do with your coaches.
Yep, that says it.
That's
there.
it.
Yeah,
no, you're
that's
right.
A big change.
You're right, JJ. Thanks for jumping on with us, man. That's it. You're right. That's where they spend most of their time, if not a huge part of their time. Appreciate you jumping on with us last minute. A lot of stuff going on. Man, whew. J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback, also the radio broadcast analyst for Learfield and IMG. Now, let's discuss.
Merry Christmas, JJ, by the way.
Yes. Utah quarterback depth chart. Jake Bentley's entered the transfer portal, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Charlie Brewer.
Yep.
There are people still not giving up on him. Big 12 schools and a school in the north.
Oh, so he's not.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, he's committed to Utah, but it's different than a national. He's committed. So Jake Bentley's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jaquindon Jackson, who was at Duncanville, Texas, and now he's headed to Utah. Cameron Rising, right?
Mm-hmm.
His throwing shoulder will need surgery.
Yep.
Out till most likely September, October of next year.
So that means he's probably going to get like maybe even a medical red shirt out of that if he can't start the season. So he won't be involved in any kind of spring or fall practice. So
there's a reason why when you look at that, and then you look at, okay, Bentley's gone, Jaquindon Jackson's very young, and who knows, and there is thoughts even when he was at Texas that he might end up playing, and this is not trying to say he couldn't play quarterback. He was fantastic at Duncanville. But he also can play other positions as well. And now Rising's injury, and then you look up and you say Charlie Brewer, Utah?
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. And so that's just an update on that as well. And by the way, some of the nibbles that continue, 3 of those schools are in the state of Texas, and 3 of those schools are part of the Big 12.
So Texas Tech, Texas, and TCU.
There's 3 of them left besides Baylor, right? Because it's not Baylor. All right, and you wonder, and I know that a lot of fans are like, he's gone, go. Okay, just like you think the same thing with Fedora Munoz or whatever, you wonder, had some of the changes been made earlier, would that have affected his decision to transfer? And I don't know that. I have no idea. At some point, we might be able to get that information. But he's in a better place now, headed to Utah.
You know, honestly, even if it would have changed things, I wouldn't have wanted to see it. I mean, I like Charlie a lot. I'm a big fan of Charlie. Hope he tears it up at Utah. I tweeted that at him the other day. But I go back to, it was time for change. You know, I did not want to see him trotting out for a 5th year behind this offensive line, not knowing how much better they'll actually be next year, because it just would have been the same song and dance. And look, that's not on him. If you could tell me that he was going to come back, he was going to be healthy and clear-headed, and they were going to actually be able to give him more than a half a second on any given play, then hey, let's run it back. But if you can't give me that guarantee, then I just feel like it would have been more of the same and not much. You know, maybe a new offensive coordinator would have done wonders. I don't know, but you know, he's in a better spot now, and Baylor will be fine.
Xavier Howard made the Pro Bowl.
2nd time. He's maybe going to be the defensive MVP. I mean, he could very well be.
I don't know when the Cowboys were 1-15 or a couple of other bad years. I know John McClain is next. If they've ever had nobody, if there's ever been nobody made the Pro Bowl, not Zach Martin, nobody made the Pro Bowl. They used to have 8, 9 guys, 7 guys, sometimes just because they were popular.
3 guys on the Campo teams.
I know.
That made it in those 5 and 11
So that's an update with that as well. We got to break it.
I know, but here's one other note. When you're talking about Tanner Mordecai, there's reports that he's headed to SMU, and I'd forgotten about this connection. I mean, not only does SMU make sense from the quarterback standpoint, but Lincoln Riley's brother Garrett is the co-OC at SMU.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because at the end of the game against Iowa State, Morris took the snaps, right? Mm-hmm. If Lincoln Riley's brother's on the SMU staff, and now he's about to be the passing game coordinator, you don't think maybe he talked to Lincoln? And did Lincoln then bring in Chandler Morris rather than Tanner because he knew he was about to say goodbye?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? If all that was going on, that's impressive. But, I mean, very well may have been. Very well may have been.
John McClain of the Houston Chronicle is next on SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. You are just a couple of days away, 3 days away from Christmas. So what do you have for the meal, huh? Turkey, ham, what do you have? They have gift boxes at Waco Custom Marketplace and holiday cuts for your steak of what you want, from bone-in rib roast, boneless rib roast, whole tenderloins, and trimmed tenderloin. Now, the bone-in rib roast, by the way, are $11.55 a pound for select. Choice is $16.80. Different choices, different cost per pound. But on top of that, they also have the holiday gift boxes, and the holiday gift boxes include steaks, 4 bacon-wrapped fillets, steak butter, 4 New York strip steak butter, 4 ribeyes steak butter, and even you can get 2 bacon wrap fillets and 2 lobster tails and the butter to go with it. And all of those are prices from anywhere, I'm just off the top of my head, like $50 to $75. So you can do that for clients, for family, for Christmas gifts, or for yourself to take home and eat it and enjoy it as well. And if you have last-second things you need, they're open, of course, at 425 Lake Erie Drive all the way through pretty late into, Wednesday or Thursday, I guess it would be. You can go in there and get things you might all of a sudden think you need, like you would at a convenience store, because it's also a hometown grocery store with anything from milk to eggs to even canned goods and boxed dinners, pasta, chips, soft drinks, energy drinks, wine and beer. And a bakery and also a meat market that will customize whatever order you need at Waco Custom Marketplace. And they have gift cards for stocking stuffers at 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
When it comes to hauling the family and hauling cargo, see Alan Samuels. Get the king of minivans, the award-winning Chrysler Pacifica, or America's lowest price third-row crossover, Dodge Journey. During the Big Finish event, get 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on Pacifica. It's minivan first class. And get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Dodge Journeys. Happy holidays from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. 543, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle. John, I don't know. You've kind of been bunkered in doing your NFL beat and what you do as a Hall of Fame writer. But Baylor football today with Fedora and Munoz both out. Have you been able to keep up with that at all?
I've kept up with it on your Twitter line. I saw that today when you tweeted it. I retweeted it. And then all my Baylor friends, I'm on a group text, started firing off text messages. And let me ask you guys something. If Charlie Brewer have stayed if he knew these moves were being made, or was he gone anyway?
I brought that up at the very end of the last segment. We were looking at the Utah football quarterback depth chart, which has changed a lot just in the last 24 hours. The former starter is on the transfer portal. The other one has an injured shoulder, his throwing shoulder, and then there's a transfer from Duncanville and UT. I don't know that for sure. I don't know that if that was the case. I just know that there was obviously mass confusion and butting of the heads or conflicts of personalities, whatever it was, between the coaches, at least the ones who were the ones calling plays, and Munoz and, of course, Fedora. Maybe so. What do you? I mean, we discussed that.
I think Charlie was ready to go. I
kind of feel that way too.
But would he have had the same type of year had there been more cohesiveness?
Yeah, but I don't think the timetable would have ever even worked itself out because it'd been like a month ago.
No, that's a good point.
So I think he was already determined to go.
Yeah.
Do they have anybody in place? Because if you're going to try to get a transfer to come in there, they better know who those coaches are going to be.
Yeah, no, not yet. Also,
the biggest problem we talked about before is their offensive line. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, they've got to fix their offensive line. The only way you do that is talent, coaching, scheme, attitude, whatever. But to me, that was the biggest disappointment of the season.
And that's what J.J. Joe just mentioned, that they need to get somebody that, whether it's Wickline, who is at least so far, or somebody who's going to sit there and also coach him up. And what was the word he used? I forgot the word that J.J. used about getting better, just getting better at whatever that word might have been. John McClain with us, Houston Chronicle, SicEm365 Radio.
John, so the Texans have interviewed Jim Caldwell for the head coaching spot. How many more interviews do you expect them to do?
So they're just interviewing people now that are available. You should interview as many people as you possibly can with experience. Caldwell's been on 3 Super Bowl teams, and he's got 2 rings. One is assistant in Baltimore and one in Indy, and he's tight with Tony Dungy. He's on their advisory council. But he's 65, be 66 in January. I'd want to know what he thinks about my roster. I'd want to know about what he thinks about organization, culture. And they interviewed their director of player personnel today, Matt Bazigan. People here were why. And I said, well, nobody knows more about their roster than the head of player personnel, who's over college and pro personnel. He watches tape. He evaluates players. I'd want to know exactly what he thinks about the roster. Now, and Louis Riddick interviewed last week because he's available. They're going to interview a general manager. They're going to wait till the season's over. They're going to ask for permission to talk to some top personnel guys. I'm doing a column on Friday about my top 10 list of people who are ready to be general managers that they will or should consider. And then they'll put that together and they'll go for a head coach. Something to keep in mind for any team needing a head coach. If somebody falls out of the sky, like Andy Reid or Ron Rivera, guys who get fired and you don't expect it, then that can change your dynamic. Now, Kansas City had no idea Andy Reid's going to be available. You know what? If Pittsburgh loses the last 2 games and misses the playoffs on a tiebreaker, does Mike Tomlin say enough is enough? I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm talking about a situation like that might cause you to hire the coach first and let him play an instrumental role in hiring a GM like Matt Rule. Matt Rule, I'll guarantee you, will have total control over personnel, and the GM who goes to Carolina will be like the GMs in Seattle, Oakland, Kansas City, New Orleans, all those, San Francisco, all those places where you have a GM and title, but really he's more like the head of personnel and director of football operations because the head coach has final say on personnel.
John, what do you think the head coaching market's going to look like this offseason? How much changeover you're anticipating?
There's always a couple more. We've got there's more general managers than ever. There's 5 right now, and general managers don't get recycled. That's why I was told Thomas Dimitroff, who was fired after 12 years with Atlanta, was going to take a year off. Well, he better not. If you got teams, a record number of teams looking for GMs, and they want to talk to you, you better talk, because those guys are working for websites and TV, or they're out of jobs totally, like former Giants general manager Jerry Reese. And so there's probably going to be 7 or 8 openings, and some teams that already have their GM in place have an advantage because they're just looking for one position. But you can't rush it. Just look at New England. They lost Josh McDaniels, was going to Indianapolis. He accepted the job. They were about to promote a guy. He backed out. Indianapolis was devastated. So they went to their next choice, Frank Reich, and that's worked out pretty good. And right now, Josh McDaniels is back there, and nobody's talking about him as a head coaching candidate.
What are your thoughts about this change to the process as far as teams can request and conduct these virtual interviews, even though the candidates are employed by other teams? And I know those teams can deny that, but does that shake things up dramatically or no?
Anytime you're doing a Zoom, that benefits everybody. Coaches don't have to go to a plane and fly around the country. They can do it late at night after their hours. They can do it during their lunch break, and I think that's a great thing.
John, I'm going to throw out a hypothetical to you now. Phillip Rivers is older, and we don't know what's going to happen with him next year. He's played well for Frank Reich, but Frank Reich and Carson Wentz worked together really well, and it looks like Carson Wentz has some long-standing now competition in Jalen Hurts. Could you see the Colts making a move for Carson Wentz?
No. Phillip Rivers just turned 39. He's playing really well. The thing about Wentz, people talk about his contract being untradeable. That you can trade a contract. You can redo it to make it where a team would be more interested. I don't think for a second they're saying Jalen Hurts is our quarterback after 2 games or 2 games here. I think both of them will be back. Doug Peterson will be back. And next year we'll decide who's the quarterback of the future of the Eagles. And maybe after another year, Carson Wentz could go there. Carson Wentz is known as a quarterback with a lot of ability, who's had success. He's stubborn. He resists a lot of times things teams want to do, not play calls or things like that, but like, say, fundamentals. And so now Adam Schefter reported he's pouting and doesn't want to be there if he's not going to be the starter. That's a bad look when it comes to being traded. They must be getting advice from James Harden on how not to get traded. And I think that Philadelphia will bring everybody back, and they'll sort it out let next season sort it out.
Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts now, Kyler Murray, obviously a Pro Bowler. That was announced yesterday. Who's going to money whip Lincoln Riley enough to get him out of Norman?
I think if he was going to go, Jerry Jones would have given him a blank check. And I'll say this, if I'm a team, I'm definitely checking with his agent to see if he's interested. And maybe you're not going to give him $20 million a year like John Gruden, because look how that money's being spent. But you might give him $10 million a year. But then again, Oklahoma, some wealthy billionaire alum would step up. It's just a matter of whether, like Matt Rule, he wanted to go to the NFL. He hadn't been in the NFL. We all knew Matt wanted to coach in the NFL, and he is. But Lincoln Riley has never hinted that he's interested in the next level.
Yeah, I every time I hear Lincoln Riley mentioned with the Cowboys, I get kind of sad just because I'm not a big fan of retreads, John, and that's what Mike McCarthy is, and the staff is a staff full of retreads, and 5-9 looks like a retreaded staff to me.
Well, you wouldn't have hired Bill Belichick in New England, would you?
Good point.
Yeah, or Marv Levy at Buffalo, or Pete Carroll at Seattle. Pete Carroll's been fired 2 times. The thing is, it's what you just said, the people he brought with him. Mm-hmm. It looked like he was trying to help his friends. Mike Nolan, if he's not the coordinator, give him something else, assistant head coach. they've got to have a defensive coordinator. Offense was not the problem when Dak Prescott was healthy. Defense was the problem. They need a new coordinator. And they need to take those high picks they're going to get, unless they fool around and win the last two, and use them on defensive players. And they've got to get a couple of free agents too. But McCarthy's got to fix his defense.
Is Pittsburgh the biggest fraud you've ever seen at 11-0 in NFL history?
Yes, it is. And it's very interesting that you bring up the Steelers, because until this recent skid in which they've gone 3-1, they were averaging almost 30 points a game. And now they're averaging 17 over the last 4. The first time since Roethlisberger's a rookie, they've gone 4 games in a row without scoring 20 points. And so they can't run the ball. They've given up more yards rushing than they have accumulated, which is so un-Pittsburgh-like. The Steelers can run the football traditionally, but not this season. They're committing too many turnovers. They're dropping too many passes. They are not peaking at the right time. I saw somebody point out the last time this happened to a team was the Saints, and they went on to win the Super Bowl.
John, what do you think of the Dwayne Haskins situation in Washington right now?
Craig, I wondered when they went with Kyle Allen early in the season why they made him third team and didn't have him dressed. And it told me he wasn't doing the things they wanted to do behind the scenes, practice and meetings, because those are so important to performance on the field. And if he could be dumb enough to go to a strip club after a game and not wear a mask and not social distance, it's hard to go to a strip club and social distance, right? Otherwise, why would you be at a strip club? Isn't that right?
I wouldn't know, John.
Right, Paul?
I wouldn't know, John. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Paul? I have no idea.
But to post the pictures on social media, do you want a guy like that leading your team?
Nope.
He has got to go.
Hey, man, thank you, John. Merry Christmas. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for being a part of our show. And I guess we got another week. We'll know a lot more. Teams that get in, teams that don't this weekend. Thanks for your time.
Merry Christmas to you guys. Sic'em.
That's John McClain. By the way, Nevada just beat Tulane 38-20. And you know that the Gatorade thing that they pour on coach's head, They did that with Jay Norvell, and it was a bunch of French fries. I don't know, Idaho potatoes, I guess. Cut
French fries.
Yeah, just
potato bowl.
Pounded him.
Potato bowl.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I'm sure they're cold. Which again, there's nothing more worthless on planet Earth than a cold French fry.
Cold, dry French fry.
Oh yeah, just the worst. So I mean, might as well throw them on the ground.
Yeah. They got a penalty for fries getting on the field.
Did they really?
Yeah, look, here you go. They literally got a penalty.
Delayed the game.
It did delay the game.
All right.
Jeez.
So I guess the biggest news today is Baylor men's basketball added Alcorn State to their schedule December 30th.
It's huge.
For sure.
Do you think Alcorn State was like, all right.
Yeah. We'll get our brains beat in for a few $1,000 or something.
They'll get a little bit of money. We have to ask Mac that. We're probably not going to get him for a while, but ask him how much that would be, like 100,000, 20,000,
I know Pine Bluff didn't roll in expecting, but I don't know if you ever expect to get to the first media timeout and it's 22-4 or whatever it was like that. 55-12
at halftime.
By the way, if they were paying $100,000 for Alcorn State, then they need to shut down college athletics because that is ridiculous. That's more football.
I'm just throwing out a number.
I'm sorry, I have to show you this. This guy, right before they dump the coach, this guy goes and grabs a fry for himself.
Of course he does.
I'm sorry.
That's the move, though.
Heck yeah,
that's a
man.
smart move.
And that's the skinny guy. The skinny guy got the fry. That's awesome.
Burning off all those calories during the game.
So earlier today, right after lunch, Larry Fedora out. A little bit later on, we kind of had heard the numbers or the names of George Munoz. That eventually, I got that confirmation. Then Baylor also confirmed it eventually as well. They're out. Also, Tanner Mordecai lands at SMU. Craig, that's where you said from the beginning that's a great fit for him. Bouchel's out. He's gone, right? Mm-hmm. And so he goes to SMU, and then the Riley connection was there. And now where's Lincoln Riley's Garrett going to where?
Yeah, Garrett Riley's being rumored to join Shane Beamer at South Carolina. He's only been at SMU for a year, But that would make sense, if he's an upcoming star coach. Shane Beamer's got those OU connects, so we'll see what happens there. But I don't think Tanner, simply went to SMU as a result of Garrett Riley. I think that was, what they've done over the last few years with Sonny Dykes. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, that's the rumor as of now. And a lot of changes going on. We got guys entering the transfer portal left and right, declaring for the draft left and right. So it's fun times. It's chaotic, but it's a lot of fun to keep track of it all.
Yeah,
No doubt.
And then Brian Harston to Auburn.
Yes.
Look, he's 69-19 in his career at Boise State. They've been excellent. Boise State's trying to get out of the conference that they're in right now and get in the AAC. They don't have an AD, and now they don't have a head coach. And, of course, they're having money problems, and they've had to eliminate some sports. So Brian Harston maybe throwing his hat into the Auburn ring has as much to do with what's going on at Boise State than it does to do with what's going on at Auburn.
Thanks to so many of you who called the show today off the top. I'm glad we had the first hour pretty open. Thanks to those of you who texted us today, the Willis Law Firm chat room that was also busy today. A lot of feedback yesterday on our interview with John Moore. And
we're going to have tons and tons of conversation, but also tons of news, rumors, and all of that over on the SicEm365 premium side. That's where you can jump in on the conversation on, who you think should be the next OC or, what you feel like or whatever the deal is. But that's where we also have, because it's one thing to report something here on the radio when it's official. We're not going to go throw rumors out there. But if you're into the rumors, that's where a lot of that will also take place on that premium side. And it's good rumors.
Some of them are just like, wow. But, I remember there was a thread 2 weeks ago about Charlie Brewer in Utah. It turned out to be that's exactly because people know people who know people who know people.
That's right, yeah.
So changing staff today. More we'll hear about perhaps some other things that are going on, if they are. Tomorrow we're on until 3 until 6 tomorrow. Thanks to our guest today. And we weren't able to get Mac Rhodes on, and that's okay because he was kind of busy with a lot of things going on. But thanks to our guest today, including we never got him on, did we?
No, we'll do it tomorrow.
That's good, tomorrow about Cincinnati. Terry Gamble, Raymond Doswell, the vice president and curator from the Negro League Baseball Museum. That was amazing. David Hellman, John McClain, J.J. Joe. And, of course, thanks to you and our great sponsors here on this Christmas week. For Armstrong Sims, who runs the mothership, Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak. One more day to go until the Christmas break here on SicEm365 Radio. Thank you and good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.